Ready to start?
Are we ready?
Do I have to do it now?
Before you go into closed session.
Okay, we're going to call to order our scheduled closed session for June 9th, 2025. Current time is 5:14. Madam Clerk, could you call roll, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Here.
Councilmember Woolsey. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Here.
Mayor Thorpe.
Here.
Councilmember Beaver will be joining us via telephone during closed session.
All right. And do we have any public comment?
We have no public comments.
With that, we'll move into the conference room. Current time is still 5:14.
Mayor,
Sir,
we do have one conflict that needs to go into the record.
stand by with that. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I will be recusing on a closed item, conference with legal counsel, et cetera, on the Serrano Estates. Be conflict of interest due to the nature that I live close to that development.
All right, copy. With that, we're going to the conference room. Time is still 5:14.
I need us to throw it at you, and then I might just.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We call our regular scheduled city council meeting to order for June 9th, 2025. Current time is 6:11. Thanks for your patience this evening. With that, Pastor Chris Fraley from Calvary Chapel, Wildwood, would you please come and do our invocation, followed by our captain doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wisdom. You remind us in James chapter 1, verse 5, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it'll be given to him. And so we ask you for wisdom today, for the city council and all the civil servants that are leading this great community of Yucaipa. May you also grant them a servant's heart, helping them realize today that they've been put here not only by the great citizens of Yucaipa, but they were put in place by your divine hand. Romans chapter 13:1 says to us that there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. So the positions that each of our leaders hold today have been granted to them by you, by your hand. Ultimately, they are yours to give, and they will be accountable to you. And so would you guide their decisions? May they know and discern your heart for the city of Yucaipa. Today, as I look above their heads, it's written for all of us to see. In God we trust. May that be true in the leadership that represents you and the citizens that call Yucaipa their home. May this be a city that puts its faith and trust in you, a city that honors you. For we know that when we honor you, that's when your protection and provision are granted. And Lord, lastly, we pray for Los Angeles today. We pray that you would silence the evil that's taking place in that community, that you would protect the citizens and the law enforcement that are in harm's way, that you would grant wisdom to both the local, state, and federal government, that they would not be working against one another, but in harmony and unity with one another, and that you would honor our president in the decisions that he is making to bring order and safety to our cities and to our state. Speak to the heart of the governor of California. May he come under the authority of those who have been put in place of authority over him. Lord, we know it's the right thing to do. And we commit this time to you, grateful for you. In Jesus' name we pray these things. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Captain. Madam Clerk, would you mind calling roll, please?
Councilmember Miller,
Here.
Councilmember Woolsey. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Here.
Mayor Thorpe.
Here.
Councilmember Beaver will be joining us via telephone. Councilmember Beaver, can you hear me?
Yes.
Councilman, can you confirm that the agenda was posted at your location?
Yes, it was.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything to report at a closed session? I know we didn't complete everything. We'll have to go back in afterwards, but
That's all I was going to report, Mayor, was that we did not conclude closed session, so we will be re-entering closed session following our open session. If there is any reportable action, I will make that in a written memo that we can attach to the next meeting's agenda, so there's no need to stay late.
thank you, sir. Madam Interim City Manager, any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
All right. With that, our special presentation is Yaps here. No Yaps? They did not show up? Okay. I have a proclamation here for Flag Day. They're not here tonight, but I've signed that proclamation for Flag Day, and we'll be getting that to them. Our other presentation will be with Wildwood Canyon Park Property Classification Presentation. It's a mouthful.
Thank you. My name is John Roy. I work for California State Parks. I'm the regional superintendent. I manage park units, Chino Hill State Park, Lake Paris State Recreation Area, California Citrus State Historic Park, and also the properties of San Mateo and Wildwood Canyon, and that's what leads me here today. This is an invitation not only to council, but to members of the public. Next week, Monday, June 16th, in the Yucaipa Community Center, the banquet room from 6:30 to 8, we'll be hosting a public meeting, and the topic is the Wildwood Canyon Park property classification. So our classification, when the state acquires property, and we acquired 800 and almost just short of 900 acres now almost 25 years ago here in Yucaipa. It was done based on a grassroots efforts, not only from the city of Yucaipa, but from the Wildlands Conservancy and the Yucaipa Conservancy to cherish this open space that is nestled in Wildwood Canyon area and butts up against the San Bernardino National Forest. That area, if that property was not acquired, would probably be tract homes right now. It has a series of structures on there, an old historic ranch, and also just great multi-use trails that accommodate equestrian, hikers, and bikers. Since we acquired it, we've kind of left it just the same. It is a property, it is not a state park at this time, and what the state is doing basically is now we're moving on to the next step, and apologize, it's taken 25 years, but the next step now is to actually classify the park unit and then develop a general plan to guide us the next 50, 75 years on what this property is going to look like. The classification and naming, it's a legal thing under the Public Resources Code. It requires interaction with the community, stakeholders, public, and that's what we're doing. And this is the start of that process. And again, next Monday, June 16th, is the invitation to the public and other stakeholders. The process of this is we identify significant natural cultural resources, we define the vision and purpose, we evaluate cultural, natural, and recreational opportunities there, and then it's the actual classification name. We have certain classification names already, like recreation area, beaches, historical areas. We know that it's only going to be either one or two options. It'll either be a traditional state park or it could be a historical park. It's not going to be a beach. It's not going to be a recreation area. It is going to be one of those two things. Recreation areas are usually reservoirs, and because of the mix that we already know of historical value and natural resource value, it will be probably one of the two. Again, the process will guide us to that. Once a classification has been set, it'll go to our State Park Recreation Commission hearing for approval. That also is a public involvement process. I mentioned some of the things that kind of guide this, the trail system, which Wildwood has a great multi-use system trail right now. It has interpretive activities. There's tons of things that the park could do. And again, when the general plan comes out, there's a lot of historical value that's there already that could be, told to children. It could be told to park users. Recreation, just because it's a state park doesn't mean it can't have recreation. We have tons of equestrian use, hikers and bikers that use it. We don't see any of that changing. Again, overnight lodging, things like that, that is something that could be guided from the classification, but again, that's more of a general plan type process. The general plan will follow a classification in its own separate process that, again, will want and encourage public involvement in. I mentioned some of the types of classifications that state parks fall into: recreation areas, regular just state parks, reserves, and historical units. Based on our preliminary inventories, again, we think it has some historical value. We also think it has a mix of everything, which a state park does. We already know where it's at. It's in our backyard. It's in our community of Yucaipa in the Wildwood Canyon area. And here's some of the structures that we have, the hunt ranch map. We've already done some inventories already, historical inventories. So it's not something that we don't have prep work already done. We already have a lot of things done throughout the last 25 years planning for classification. Again, next week, Monday, June 16th, I have flyers in the back. There's a QR code there as well if you want more information. Are there any questions from council? All right.
Any questions? Thank you, sir.
All right. Appreciate it.
I should have stated earlier, too, on the other presentation that June 14th, a couple days before this event, is going to be the day we're designating as Flag Day on that proclamation. Okay, Moving on, public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening, ma'am? And if I could get people when they come up to respect the time limit, please state your name and address, if you would.
Okay, we will start with Richard Frost, followed by Randy Balling.
Yeah, I've always had a passing interest in animal welfare, maybe because I had a great uncle who was a harness horse racer and horse trainer. But I've noticed lately that there's been kind of a misplaced compassion about placing dogs. Like a lot of dogs get loose, and so people think they're stray or something like that. And I have two examples. A couple of years ago, I was over at Stater Brothers, and I was coming out, and some guy was coming in, and he had this dog. It wasn't on a leash or anything. It was following him. It was very well trained. So he waited for him to go in the store, and all of a sudden, these kids drive up, and they said, "Oh, there's a stray dog. We need to find his home or something like that." And I told him that his owner was inside, and then they waited around, and they saw owner was inside. And there was another example recently with my neighbor. She had an emotional support dog, and her boyfriend, who she lived with, needed money, so he sold her dog to another neighbor, and so she was just devastated by that. And the neighbor thought she wasn't taking very good care of the dog. She was doing okay, and she said she was going to do something about it. But, that was just an emotional support dog, and the dog wasn't abused or anything like that. And so that's another case where a lot of times they'll rehome dogs and take them away from people. That when there hasn't been a lot of abuse, it's just the extreme abuse when they really beat dogs and things like that they do that. But and then the person said that well, she'll never see your dog again. So it's kind of that's
Thank you, sir.
Randy Balling, followed by Patty Ingram.
Hello, I'm Randy, and I live on Maplewood Lane in Yucaipa, and I wanted to say good evening to the honorable members of the City Council. I'm here on behalf of my church, Grace Point Fellowship, and the entire organization team of Love Yucaipa and Calamasa. And I just wanted to take a few minutes tonight to make our appreciation a matter of public record. We want to sincerely thank you guys for the financial support you offered for Yucaipa, Love Yucaipa, Calamasa. We also want to thank you for your enthusiastic participation and for standing with us in this citywide day of community service. Because of your partnership, we had over 300 volunteers that came together on May 3rd to complete 14 impactful projects across our cities. And I want to just highlight a few real quickly. We had 65 volunteers serve at the Yucaipa Animal Placement Society, improving conditions for rescued animals, and would like to save for our future four-legged furry friends. We had 50 volunteers repaint the perimeter wall at the pickleball courts, bringing new life to a popular gathering space. Bob, I hope the paint came off okay on your hand there. Thanks for your help. We had another 50 volunteers revitalize the bleachers at the 7th Street Park. We also completed beautification projects at Yucaipa High School and a local elementary school, helping increase morale in our public spaces for the next generation. And those are just a few of the things that we were able to accomplish together. The day began with an incredible pep rally at the Yucaipa Performing Arts Center, which turned out to be the perfect location for our kickoff. The scene was unforgettable. We had fire trucks raising a large American flag, our mayor leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and the Yucaipa High School cheer team bringing the energy and special spark to that day. This event did so much more than just improve our facilities. It brought people together. It united city leaders and fire chiefs and local churches and businesses and everyday citizens to serve side by side. Our parent organization, Love Our Cities, encourages us to quantify this kind of volunteer effort. Using their model, we estimate that the single day of service represented over $30,000 in donated labor to our city. And on top of that, we received donations from local businesses, residences, and even brought together 7 local churches, all united through the leadership of the Silver Review Board, whose efforts help bridge denominational lines and give us a shared mission. So we're already planning the next Love Yucaipa Calamasa, and we sincerely hope to count on your continued support to help make our city stronger, more connected, more beautiful, not just in appearance, but in spirit. So once again, thank you guys so much for your participation in that. We just couldn't have done it like we did without you. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Patty Ingram, followed by Terry Boone.
Thank you. Good evening. Patty Ingram, 9346 Yucaipa Ridge Road. On behalf of the Yucaipa Pickleball Club, over 350 members, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the City Council for the refurbishment of the 7th Street basketball and pickleball courts. This was a huge improvement, and the Love Yucaipa Day also made a huge improvement. I was happy that I got to participate in that also. The upper court area was in dire need of repair and had become almost unusable, or at least undesirable, for both sports. And the comments from players now range from "we love the colors" to "I like to play on the upper courts as well or better than the lower courts." So thank you very much. And there are probably not that many facilities on such a small footprint in Yucaipa that receive the constant usage that these courts receive. We estimate 800 to 1,000 pickleball players attend every month just during our morning organized open play time on Monday through Saturday. There very well might be a similar number of players that come in the evenings and weekends to participate in the general open play time. Pickleball is a growing family sport and a great addition to this community. And secondly, I'm going to cheat a little bit and address item 21 just so I don't have to stay late since I'm up here, and that's regarding the Community Activity Grant Awards. Yucaipa Pickleball is thrilled to see that our request is being recommended for approval. For the past 2 years, we've used the CAG to promote and bring pickleball to our students in the schools. The first year, we gave direct instruction to over 3,000 kids and provided equipment to every school in the district. This past school year, we concentrated on 4 schools, reaching 1,500 kids, and we were able to donate 120 paddles, 14 nets, and over 100 balls. This coming school year, we are excited to run a similar program and donate more equipment and instruction time to the schools. It is rewarding for me to receive comments from parents that their child is excited about pickleball and has gotten their whole family involved. Our school program has been recognized by the United States Pickleball Association and the Yucaipa Calamasa School District. With your help, we've been able to offer a valuable program to the community, starting with our elementary students and continuing up to our senior citizens. Your commitment to making 7th Street courts a premier facility and supporting the growth of pickleball is appreciated. Thank you.
Terry Boone, followed by Dr. Hanson Wong.
I spoke about this last year. I'm Terry Boone. I live on Yucaipa Ridge Road. And I have to bring it up again because this is the time of year where we pay our disposal bill. I understand that tonight you're going to determine whether or not that disposal bill is going to be increased or not. But the second part of it, when I called last week to Yucaipa Disposal or Burtec, they told me that in addition to how much we'll be paying, that the option to pay in full is on the table. So in other words, that you could choose to take the option for us to pay for it, and it would have to always, for all citizens, have to go onto their tax bill, that might be taken away. She may have misspoken because when I read the agenda item and the attachment, I did not see that. But I would like very much for you to put it in the ordinance that it'll always be an option for the citizens to be able to pay their refuse bill in full, please.
Dr. Hanson Wong, followed by Mary Reuter.
Hanson Wong, District 1, Yucaipa. Thank you for the opportunity to address the City Council. I have a variety of issues to discuss. Number one, there's 3 more classes in the lecture series. June 16th is suicide prevention, August 18th is nutrition, October 20th is exercise. I think this is very important. And if the City Council and the members that are here and the city staff can encourage people to attend these, I think it would be very helpful. Our city provides certain services to our community, and obviously from Measure S and so on, things have been discussed, or safety and health, infrastructure, and so on. But there is a certain amount of things that we give to our community that does cost money, but it serves the youth, it serves the elderly, it serves the underserved. Now, sometimes I speak in such a way that people say, well, what are you talking about? Well, for instance, the movies in the park, it brings our kids into the park, they can see the movies, and even though it costs money, it does give back to our community a feeling of family and what we have for them. In our finance area, because finance is important and this costs money, what are the priorities? The priorities in saving money, also the priorities of giving back to the city what they need, and return on investment. Again, some things I really don't know. For instance, how much return on our investment of a generator actually gives us? How many days will we need it for? And if it gives us what we need and helps the city, obviously it's important. But again, entertainment. You've already nixed one entertainment, which is the Five Winds concert. But there are other things during the year that cost us a lot of money in a time when we can't afford it. So how are we going to make this break even, keep it, and or make money? I realized that, like the thing that's in the park, there's a labor issue, and it's difficult to maintain a certain amount of labor unless you have enough things you're doing for them. But we have a lot of very intelligent people in this city hall that can figure out a way that will do it. So I think it's something we need to get back to the city. One last thing, there's one part of the one thing that you're going to approve of, the AAC playground, the signs and the brands and so on. And I want to thank Jennifer Lozano for the assistance she gave in helping the disabled, children, adults, and the people in wheelchairs. Thank you very much.
Mary Reuter, followed by June Hutchinson.
Well, hello, council members. Y'all know me. I live on the North Bench. I'm here representing the Chamber of Commerce, of course, because that is what I do. And tonight I'm going to nag y'all because that is my role in the Chamber of Commerce. I am the official nagger. On this Friday, June 13th at 10 o'clock, the Chamber of Commerce is doing a ribbon cutting at Guiding Hope Counseling Center. It's on the corner of Avenue A and Adams Street, right across from the Yucaipa Women's Club. I couldn't remember what it's called, the Yucaipa Women's Club. And we would love for everyone to come. The public is invited. And not only that, the Chamber encourages the public to please come and support these small businesses in their ribbon cuttings. And then on Saturday, June 14th at 10 o'clock, we are doing a ribbon cutting for Uptown Treasure Hunt. It's a new business on California Street, near the corner of California and Avenue A. Again, we'd love for anybody who would like to come and support this small business. It is absolutely fun and lovely. And the other thing, on June 14th in the morning, the Lions Club, which is a member of the Yucaipa Chamber of Commerce, is having a flag retirement ceremony at Flag Hill Park. And I forgot, I think it's around 9 o'clock. But you can look it up on the Yucaipa Lions Club Facebook page. And again, they will be accepting U.S. flags and will officially take care of them as they are retired. In fact, I believe Chief Malinowski, the fire department, is going to be taking care of that. And they have a limited supply of new American flags to hand out. So thank you very much for your participation. I will be at these events, but I can't be at the flag ceremony because I have to be at the Uptown Ribbon cutting. So hope to see y'all there. Thank you.
June Hutchinson, followed by Gary Mupas.
Good evening, June Hutchison, 13033 Mesa Grande. I just wanted to come today as a resident of Yucaipa since 1972. I know I don't look that old, but I am. And proud member 250 in the Yucaipa Pickleball. I just wanted to come here tonight and tell you thank you for your support of pickleball. The pickleball group is a diverse group of community members who not only enjoy the sport, but volunteer their time to teach new members, work in the schools program as you are approving support of tonight, and being community ambassadors, as we have players that come from all kinds of surrounding communities to come play at our courts. Pickleball is a sport where people can, who are maybe 50 plus, and have never played any kind of sport, can go, they can start playing, they can make friends, they can get some exercise, and really have a good time. So I've played pickleball locally, here, Beaumont, San Clemente, South Carlsbad, and as far away as Cody, Wyoming. I will tell you that our new courts now rival the best. And so I would like to thank you for that Public Works project, because it really has made a difference, as you've heard earlier tonight. So I want to thank you for supporting the community members and that Public Works project, supporting basically our service organization of Yucaipa Pickleball, why we assist in our work with the local schools. So I just wanted to come say thank you. I know you may not get that very often, and as my first trip to this council meeting, being a member of the community since 1972, I took this time to take it my first trip to come here to say good job on that Public Works project. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary Mupas, 33514 Liberty Road, Yucaipa. I just want to thank the pastor for his opening prayer. I was blessed by that. And being a fellow pastor, I just wanted to, if you'll indulge me just a minute to preface what I'm about to say. When my son was in 8th grade, he wanted to buy a new laptop, so he invited 100 family and friends to his graduation so he could make the money. Soon after his graduation, I asked him if he had sent the thank you cards that I gave to him and I addressed and stamped, and he said no. 3 months later, I asked him if he had sent it. He still said no. 6 months later, I was going through his room and I looked in his drawer and I found 100 self-stamped envelopes written, but in his drawer desk. And my point being, when you write a thank you card and you fail to send it, it means nothing. And the lesson that I learned from that is whenever something good happens, somebody impresses me, if I don't say it, it means nothing. And so Patty Ingram, our president for Yucaipa Pickleball, said, we have a chance to say thank you to our Yucaipa Council. And I said, you know what? As many times as I've said under my breath and to others, we have the best facility. Our city takes care of us. If I didn't come here to say it, it would have been like my son leaving a thank you card in the drawer. So on behalf of what my 8th grade son taught me, I want to personally say thank you for making what we think is the best pickleball place in all the world. We have so many people from Ontario, Yorba Linda, other places that come to our place. And I would think a lot of places are territorial, but Patty Ingram and the staff, they will welcome everybody that comes. Normally, we want to be guarded with who gets here. This is ours. Go play in your non-covered courts. But Patty has taught all of us to appreciate everybody that comes there. Everybody's welcome. The stewards that are watching over the beautiful facility that you gave us, make sure that everybody feels inclusive and loved. So we, on behalf of everybody, we want to thank you so much for making our lives so much more enjoyable. Thank you very much.
Donna Snodgrass.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Donna Snodgrass, Walnut Grove Court. And I'm going to be referencing item 7, which is on the consent calendar, but I didn't want anybody to pull it off for a full discussion. I'm very happy to see that it's on the agenda, and I hope that passes for a 5-0 vote opposing the California housing laws, and I believe it will, because that's the right thing to do for us. I wanted to call your attention that goes along with that, because this is the urgency. Attorney General Bonta on June 5th, I believe it was, issued, he said it was a warning, a legal warning to local agencies about the housing laws. And they're referencing La Cañada, Flint Ridge, and Goleta, both cities who just lost rounds in court. I believe it was Goleta that was going to appeal their decision, but they were required to post a $14 million bond in order to make that appeal, so they withdrew the appeal. Bonta and California and the state, the governor, are very serious about enforcing these housing laws, and it's getting more and more dangerous for cities like us. They've made it very clear about the interpretation of the housing law and the responsibility of local governments to follow the law and swiftly process applications. Today's alert was intended to ensure local governments understand their responsibility to facilitate affordable housing. California expects nothing less. And this, I will forward you this article if you want to read the whole thing. I'm pulling excerpts from it because they said we want to help local governments understand the law. I read the rest of the sentence that word help is in as threaten is what they're doing. They're sending another threat to us. This one speaks about the housing elements that haven't been submitted. Yucaipa doesn't have to worry about that. We have a registered housing element with the state of California, but now they're also enforcing the fact that the houses must be built. What we told them in our housing element must be built, and now they're starting to enforce this. And some of them are even squeaking by that if the number of houses are low income or affordable, they're actually pushing to ignore zoning laws. This is coming from Sacramento. So I'm glad to see the item number 7 on here, but I think there's more that needs to be done or come up with something very, very creative to bypass some of these laws. Thank you. Not bypass, I didn't say that. To protect the city, but adhere to the law. Thank you.
I have no more general public comment cards. I do have other cards, but we'll listen to those comments when we get to those items.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Brings us to our point in the agenda for council members to declare if they have any conflicts of interest for tonight's agenda. Seeing and hearing none, all right. Consent agenda is items 1 through 19. Any council members have a desire to pull any items? If not, do I have a motion to accept as presented by staff?
I'd like to pull 9, 11, and 16.
Okay.
I'll move approval on the rest.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Was that
I'll
for
motion
us?
approval for the rest.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
I'll second that.
Got a first and a second for the remaining items from 9, 11, and 16 are being pulled. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Mayor, I'm so sorry. Every item for this council meeting tonight will have to be roll call because of the fact that Councilman Beaver is joining us via telephone.
Copy.
I apologize.
Okay.
Okay. Councilman Beaver?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Woolsey? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Aye.
Mayor Thorpe.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay. So that brings us to our first item, and that would be item 9.
So item 9 is the generator that we were gonna, and I see that we sent it out for bid, and we didn't get not one used price in there. Now, this is what concerns me about, some of our staff is if that was, most people would probably just say, hey, let's wait until we get some used prices, to find out how much we can save on this, but we're not. We're pushing through, what was it, almost $200,000? So if we were to wait until, we got some used prices, because they're out there, and we could probably save $100,000 on that. And you know how many people that can benefit from that? I mean, we have concerts in the park and movies in the park and stuff we're struggling to pay for. Now, Megan, she did an amazing job by partnering up with what was the County Line Marketplace, partnering up with them. They're taking care of that cost this year. But we're not doing that, and it's just, a friend of mine asked me, are you mad about it? And I said, no, I'm really disappointed in the city for that. I'm very disappointed in that. We have trails and open spaces that we could use a little bit of money in there, but, we're not doing all our due diligence on this. So I say we scrap this and you go after some used prices and see if we can save some money on this.
Well, we could certainly do that. We did follow our purchasing policy, and went through the minimum 30-day competitive process. In the request for proposals document that we advertised, we did identify that we were looking for either a new or a used generator. We included all the specifications for the building and what we were looking for. And we also, we did reach out to several of the vendors that submitted the proposals and asked why they had only submitted a bid or a proposal for a new generator. The response was that there was a low inventory, or they didn't have a used generator available. They didn't have a used generator that would match the specifications that we were looking for. And a couple of them, the recommendation before you tonight for the award of that purchase contract, it even has a long lead time because they have to build a generator, and that's the information that we received from the vendors, that there are used generators available, but they don't meet the specifications of what we were looking for. They are sold as is with no warranty. Because that's one of the things that we asked for, if they were for the vendors to provide a proposal for either a new or used generator with a certain type of warranty. And one of the other reasons why they had indicated that they did not provide a proposal for a used generator is that included in the work of delivering the generator was the installation of the transfer switch to serve City Hall. And again, some of the vendors, they did not submit a proposal because they didn't have the ability to do that, and they did not have the inventory on hand. But certainly, yes, we could extend our proposal period for more than 30 days and reach out to other vendors. But
I just know that Extreme Plates is not a vendor of generators. And I called a friend of mine over at Caterpillar, and he has a few of them, and he said he didn't think anybody reached out to them over at Caterpillar to find out. And they sell extra warranty on that and a maintenance maintenance service on that too. And he said you could probably get all that for under $120,000. And so this is what I'm trying to get through is. Most people would just say, hey, let's see what we can do, to help our citizens here, Let's keep the fireworks going, what is that, 50 grand? So, that's part of this.
Yeah,
and we're not doing that, You know, on item number 16, the same thing.
Well, for the generator, we have to post the RFQ to the electronic bid board through the city of Yucaipa. I think we came to council 2 different times regarding the generator based on council's direction to staff due to the PSPS power shutoffs, that we really needed to address continuity of government during emergencies and power shutdowns. That was the direction provided by council to staff. In addition, it's a goal, one of your goal number 4 for the calendar year. So we've been to council 2 different times. There's been communication with you in terms of your resources. We did take your direction. We amended the RFP. We put it back on the e-bid board that's available to anyone in the region to bid on both new and used.
Did you reach out to anybody out there?
We reached out to one of the first and second time that you heard this item, we did bring back some quotes on what it would cost. We did reach out to those same vendors and say, hey, we're seeking proposals. And so we did reach out to a few of those vendors. Now, some of them didn't have the ability to also install a transfer switch. And my guess is that's why they did not submit a proposal. But I would say all of the vendors that we reached out to, they had indicated that they did not have one in stock that met the criteria that we were looking for.
And you didn't get a hold of Quinn or Caterpillar or Multiquit, or you did?
Yes.
You did reach out to Quinn?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think that we should go back to the drawing board on this. Maybe try to save a little bit more money on this one.
Mayor Pro Tem, I hear what you're saying, and from my perspective, maybe sometimes, and I could be wrong, I'm kind of talking about something that's a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but it fringes a little bit of my career, and that when you have an EOC, you're going to want to make sure we've got equipment that's going to be able to pull us through that time, and something that's got high hours or high, it's been well used, I don't know how else to put it. We want to make sure it's going to be dependable equipment. And so if you've got something that's, I don't know if it's at the end of its life, but if it's well used, I mean, I want to make sure in a pinch that our staff and our members here in the community, if they need something, they know that we're up and running. We're not running by lanyards. And, the same type of thing over at the sheriff's department. They've got a generator over there that was put in, I believe that was brand new. And it runs on a certain percentage of critical things that they would need. I mean, they may not be able to run their coffee maker. Some may consider that critical, but there'd be other things that they have to run. But we need that same type of reliability here as well. I hear what you're saying, but I get a little nervous thinking about used equipment because I want to make sure that our citizens are going to be able to be served if we have another event like this one that carries on for multiple days. And yeah, we've gone several years and gotten lucky where we haven't had to do that, but we already know that the fire maps are starting to show that we're in higher danger areas, and we live on a San Andreas fault, and there's a lot of what-ifs out there that could make it where we have to rely on that for an extended amount of time.
You know, that's the thing is there's ones that are all clapped out that have 1 million hours on them, but there's some right here. I just found one has 7,000 hours on it. It's 45,500. It's a Cummins diesel. And when you go through different dealers like Multiquip and all the other thing, they can you can extend warranties. You can buy warranties on them just like anything else, and service maintenance, things as well. It's tough because, how many times a year are we going to use this? 3 months out of the year, maybe? We have, if we don't start trying to save money somewhere else and stuff, we're going to have arts festival, coming to an end too. We won't need it there. I mean, where do we stop? That's what I'm saying. I just keep on finding more and more. It just drives me, a little bit insane and stuff. I mean,
Well,
you
the
can get a low hour
RFP and the
machine.
RFQ way of pertaining equipment for the city, there's certain criteria that we have to go through and process, correct for me?
Yes, we have to make it competitive across the board for everybody who can provide that service.
I still get calls from County of Orange. I deal with them and stuff because I buy their oldest equipment and they buy some of our new stuff. So, and we have to go through the same kind of process. But they do call me, and see what kind of the best deal I can do and everything to get all their due diligence right and stuff. So you could still make phone calls out there, in which, like you said, you did from Caterpillar. I'd sure like to know the sales guy that you talked to over there and stuff. But I just think that there's low hour, generators out there that we're gonna, like I said, we probably at 7,000 hours they run 150 to 250,000 hours usually, on some cases and stuff. I'd like to see us try to save as much money as we can, because I know that there's trails and open spaces needs money, Megan, she's on her game, partnering up with people and stuff to have somebody pay for something we should be paying for, so.
Councilwoman
That's my
Woolsey?
spiel.
Yes, twice now I have voted no on this. I still have people stopping me in different circumstances saying, thank you for voting no, we do not need that. And I do feel that this money could be spent in other areas. So once again, I will vote no.
Councilman Miller?
Thank you. I respect the viewpoints of my fellow council members, but let's steer this towards the emergency management side as we look at this. There's a couple areas I want to make sure we're careful of. We have a process and we have rules and regulations on a bidding process. We can't just simply bid on our own as council members. Am I right, City Attorney?
Yeah, so we have a formalized procurement process, especially for purchases of this size, to ensure that there's no favoritism or any other issues with the bid.
So it's a slippery slope if we start trying to do it ourselves. So I just want to make that clear. We have to be careful with that in the public. We pay a staff of professional people that have advanced degrees that do this for a living. So we have to trust that our staff is vetted and done what we've asked them to do. This is the second or third time that we've brought this back to you. You have done what we've asked you to do. You've looked for different options for emergency generators and why we need to do it. This came to light after the public safety power shutdowns, which we are going to see more of. And remember, in the emergency management side, when you start thinking of emergencies that will happen in your community, you don't know when they're going to happen. The number one thing in emergency management is you have to be able to be prepared at some point so you mitigate for any potential thing that can happen. We know we're going to have public safety power shutoffs. We need to have continuity of business at City Hall to continue to do the things we need to do to provide services for the city and to keep it safe. That's the number one thing we have to provide for our community. So the generator, though it is expensive, and I agree with the Mayor Pro Tem and I agree with Councilmember Woosley, there's many other things that we would love to push funds towards, I know, but it's all about priorities. I remember this a long time ago. I learned about risk management. If it's predictable, it's preventable. And we know that we're going to have fires, emergencies. We're going to have things that are going to happen. We're going to have public safety power shutoffs. There's no doubt about that. We are going to have to be able to do business in the future. This expense that we're going to look at now will bode well in the future for us. Because if we don't do something and we have the emergency and we can't respond effectively, we're going to have folks that are going to ask us, you had the chance to do something. You could have mitigated some of the issues back in 2025. Why didn't you? Now, we have professional people. We have response, but I love our sheriff's department and fire department. They're prepared for some emergencies, but City Hall still has to run also. And we made it one of our goals this year for the city council. And that's what we're supposed to do. We have the goals, we need to follow them. I believe in the passion of our fellow council members. They have very good ideas, but we've been down this road 3 times now, and it's back to us to make a decision. So at some point, I think we just need to move forward. I make a motion that we move forward on this item and that we approve it. And I'll ask, well, I'll give it to you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And we've got Councilman Beaver on the line. Do you have a perspective?
I've said it before. When it comes to our role as government, truly the only priority is safety. While I appreciate all of the work that our community services department does, the very simple fact of the matter is we would be remiss as elected officials if we focused on the fun of festivals while neglecting public safety, especially in the safety realm of things that could be mass casualty incidents, large scale earthquakes, even instances as civil, massive civil unrest like we're seeing in neighboring counties right now. I don't know who would speak to a councilman or woman and say that we don't need an emergency operations center operational during times without power. That doesn't sound, that sounds wrong in my mind. So while I certainly agree that we need to be prudent with where we spend our money, I don't think we should say that we should neglect matters of safety so that we can have greater community services functions. And for that reason, I will be seconding Councilman Miller's motion.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so we have a first and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor?
Opposed? Oh, he's right. Roll call. My
Yes,
bad.
I'm sorry
All
for
right.
every item on the agenda.
Okay.
Councilmember Beaver?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Woolsey?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
No.
Mayor Thorpe?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, ma'am. You probably have to tell me about 10 more times because I'm just starting to get used to this now, 6 months in. Item 11. Sir.
I pulled that one just, we overseen that 7.75 tax and then that. So when you bring that to us, do we go through it too? You brought the price and everything like that to our finance guy, right?
Yes, so.
And then he goes over it to bring it to us?
Correct. So what this is for is on the original April 28th item, there was a mathematical or typographical error where the sales price and the sales tax wasn't added correctly. But then as we looked at it, we did not include Measure S. So we had irrelevant, we quoted at the wrong sales tax. So when that's been corrected, and that's what the item is before you, is the corrected total amount, since we can't exceed council's amount and we need that increase.
Right. I was just wondering if that, you brought that to us and then
yes,
our finance guy
everything still
went
would
through
go
it and stuff and seen it and brought it back to us. So it was missed basically twice, but we're good.
Yep.
All right.
Well, not just finance. I mean, I review it too. Trevor Benson reviews it, and it was just an item that we missed on the sales tax.
That's all right. It happens.
We started the process too well before Measure S went into effect, and as we kind of bumped it along, it was missed, so.
I get it.
Any other comment?
Nope.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote. See, I'll catch on. Promise.
Councilmember Beaver?
Aye.
Councilmember Miller?
Aye.
Councilmember Woolsey?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 16.
16 is another one. So did we take this out to bid or are we just giving Les Schwab the contract for the tires? Did we contact, is that for the fire?
Correct.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Correct, so it's,
I didn't.
they're one of the only dealers, and we've tried to use other dealers like
Fire department.
Dinosaur
Okay.
and Luther's and stuff. Just availability within the city to keep the engines in service is really the only dealer that's been able to
Okay.
to
Yeah, I
accommodate.
get that.
And other smaller dealers are having an issue carrying stock too, because they don't like putting those tires on the rack.
Right.
You know, and so they're able to geographically do it within the city.
Okay.
So it doesn't change. We have the budget. We just need council level approval to to increase the PO.
Oh, absolutely.
Any
I'll
other
make a
comments?
motion.
We got a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call vote.
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 20, Mr. Phil White.
I'll start the item. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight, the city team is presenting a balanced budget for fiscal year 25-26 that holds the city's commitment made to voters with the approval of Measure S, using those funds to help balance the budget without compromising public safety. Balancing this budget, however, was not without significant challenges. While Measure S revenue helped address the immediate shortfall, it is not sufficient to fully fund our ongoing public safety costs, which now total $30 million. Our primary revenue sources, including property tax and sales tax, generate approximately $28 million, leaving a structural funding gap. This shortfall is already straining the Fire Services Fund. As the fund becomes depleted, the general fund will need to absorb the additional costs, which will impact other essential services. What are you doing? To close the gap for fiscal year 26, we made over $6.2 million in strategic exclusions across services, programs, and training. Despite these measures, the city's financial outlook remains challenging. Limited tax revenue, rising public safety expenses, and the depletion of restricted reserves in the fire fund contribute to a widening gap between revenues and expenditures. If we want to preserve our community's quality of life moving forward, we must recognize that tough choices do lie ahead. Whether that means increasing revenue, reducing public safety staffing or service levels, or making further reductions in other areas like what was discussed this evening. While the annual budget focuses on one fiscal year, we must also consider long-term economic and fiscal trends. Yucaipa's identity as a small rural community remains the core community value and has shaped land use decisions, often limiting large-scale retail and industrial developments. As a result, the city has missed out on significant sales tax, property tax, and job opportunities for members of our community, revenue that has instead gone to neighboring cities. Recent developments like Raising Cane's, Trader Joe's, and a new hotel are steps forward, but they don't fully replace the revenue from larger commercial centers. The Freeway Corridor Specific Plan remains a key opportunity to attract investment and grow long-term revenue, which has been the council's goal for decades. In short, Yucaipa's financial future depends on strategic land use decisions that balance community values with the need for sustainable revenue growth. Upcoming strategic planning efforts will focus on aligning the community's vision with the city's financial realities and available resources. While no budget is without its challenges, this one is responsible and realistic. It protects our core services and reflects honest choices about what we can and cannot afford at this time. I would like to thank the Finance Department and all of city staff for their hard work and long hours in preparing this budget. I would also like to thank you, City Council, for setting the direction. Your continued leadership will be vital as we work collaboratively to secure the city's future. Thank you. Phil?
Thank you, Jennifer. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. Staff is pleased to present the fiscal year 26 budget for your review and consideration. While we have our work cut out for the future, we were successful in balancing the fiscal year 26 budget. And in fact, we achieved each of the directives that we set out to accomplish this year. We're not out of the woods. We do have upcoming challenges, but we did achieve all objectives that we set out to achieve. Tonight, it's going to be a high-level presentation. There's no significant changes from the May 12th draft, and so this is going to be a high-level presentation, but we achieved each of the directives, and no significant changes from when we spoke last month. Our agenda tonight, you heard from the city manager, an overview, a presentation of the budget. There are a couple of corrections to the staff report that are in the packet that we'll cover. The Measure S Citizen Oversight Committee will be presenting their report. We'll go quickly through the operating and capital budget, and then there's a slew of related actions, 10 recommendations attached to this item. So a couple of corrections in the staff report that you've got. One is in the public safety fund. The number that's in that report says 31 million. It was a rounding error, round down to 30. We missed it by $50,000. So it's a round down to $30 million on the inflows and the outflows. It still equals a zero. And then the general fund says 40 million in your packet. That should be a 44 million, both inflows and outflows. Again, the result is zero, a balanced budget. But when you're reading through that staff report, for those keeping score at home, update the 31 to 30 and the 40 to 44. All right. I'd like to invite the chair of the Measure S Citizen Oversight Committee, Mr. Greg Franklin, up to the podium to share a few words. They met a couple weeks ago and are responsible for reporting to City Council prior to the adoption of the budget. I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Mr. White. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Greg Franklin, and it's my privilege to be here tonight on behalf of the recently appointed Measure S Sales Tax Oversight Committee. Long time coming. For the record, the committee consists of 5 members appointed by the City Council. Besides me, the members include Denise Allen, Dr. Hanson Wong, Kevin Gregory, and Kenny Wilson, some of which are in the audience this evening. Each of us on the committee recognize that you certainly had a long list of qualified candidates, and we don't take this appointment lightly. And again, it is our pleasure to serve in this capacity, and we thank you for the opportunity to do so. So a little bit of background for the record. On June 24th of a year ago, City Council adopted resolution number 2024-38, and you will recall that this resolution basically ordered the submission of a sales tax measure to the qualified voters of the city. The measure was known as the Yucaipa Public Safety and Essential Services Protection Measure. The name itself speaks volumes for what it was intended. Establishing a 1-cent transaction and use tax, we'll refer to it as the sales tax, on all eligible taxable sales transactions occurring within the city. Fast forward to November 5th, 2024, the measure was passed, approved, and adopted by the voters of the city of Yucaipa at the general municipal election. So what this did was effectively resulted in the adoption of an ordinance number 453, which also resulted in an amendment to the municipal code, adding section 3.18, adopting that 1 cent or 1% transaction and use tax. One of the provisions of the measure is the requirement for the city to establish an oversight committee. The purpose of the Citizen Oversight Committee is to independently review and advise the City Council upon the city's expenditures of those proceeds that are generated by the sales tax, the additional sales tax. So again, the Oversight Committee is advisory in nature, in that the committee does not have decision-making authority, but shall advise the council to the best of our ability relative to the tax proceeds that have been collected as a result of the measure. Per the ordinance, the committee's primary objectives are basically twofold. First, to annually review and report on the city's proposed expenditure plan, which you're seeing tonight, for the proceeds generated by the additional sales tax revenues. The committee will do this part by the review of the budget document and the expenditure plan. And then the second thing is to annually review and report on the actual expenditures of the revenue that's generated by the additional sales tax. And we'll do that by reviewing the annual audit report, as it will be prepared by the city's independent auditor. In addition to that, we will also review the inflow of sales tax revenues on a quarterly basis to correspond with the timing of the sales tax reports by the city's sales tax consultant. And the purpose of that is to review the revenue throughout the course of the year to ensure that the revenue generated by this measure is sufficient to cover the costs anticipated or tied to that measure. So in essence, the City Citizen Oversight Committee will evaluate the annual draft budget, which we have now done, to ensure the proposed expenditure plan remains consistent with the intent of the measure as it was articulated to the voters. So what is that intent? The ballot measure specifically stated that the intent of the measure was to raise revenue to prevent reducing police officers, firefighters, paramedics, fire stations, and to maintain other essential services, including 911 responses, property crime and gang prevention, senior and youth and after-school programs, and homelessness prevention, street and pothole repair, and for general government use. Those are the reasons that folks voted for this measure. With that in mind, the committee held its first meeting on May 27 and reviewed the draft budget with city staff, and at that time, the staff discussed the draft budget, the same document that was previously presented to the city council back in May, and articulated for us the service level priorities as established by council. And those include, number one, delivering a balanced budget. So I applaud you for that direction, primarily in the operations area of the budget. Number two, public safety contracts are not to include service reductions. So we're protecting public safety. That's a service priority the council has determined. Number three, that controllable costs outside of the public safety contracts will not be increased. And number four, that programming may need to be prioritized within each department. So after that discussion, we proceeded to discuss several items that have been excluded from the draft budget. I think Mrs. Crawford addressed those this evening. But they do exclude those in order to sufficiently present a balanced budget and maintain the service priorities that are established by council. So in addition to the service priorities that I listed above, staff discussed the council adopted goals for the next fiscal year, which, as you know, include the following. Again, number one, deliver a balanced budget, which is music to my ears, so I appreciate that. Number two, establish a strategic plan. I think this is going to be so helpful for you. And number three, establish a long-term financial plan. Yeah, I love that. Number four, enhance emergency preparedness and management capabilities. Number five, to continue to enhance transparency and communications capabilities. At this point, I will point out two primary observations from the committee. Number one, that the committee is only looking at the proposed spending plan at this time. All we have available to us is the budget right now. The sales tax rate didn't go into effect until April of this year, which is why the fire engine now costs $20,000 more than it did. But as a result, actual revenues collected and distributed to the city will not be realized by the city until at least July 1st. And then they will start rolling in monthly. We will not be able to fully evaluate actual revenues until the end of that first quarter, which ends on September 30th. The committee intends to meet at least quarterly, again, I mentioned, to coincide with the quarterly review of the sales tax reports as distributed by the city sales tax consultant. So once the city begins receiving those revenues, we will be better equipped to review and report on those results. The second observation is that, and this is part of the discussion, really important to the committee. While the committee understands and truly supports the funding priorities as adopted by City Council, especially in the area of public safety, I think everybody is on board with that. And in light of the anticipated increases in service costs that you are facing with sheriff's contract adjustments and CAL FIRE adjustments. The committee still urges the council to continue its consideration of the list of services that are presently excluded for future inclusion when possible. In conclusion, having reviewed the draft budget, the committee concurs with the service priorities as outlined in the information presented to the committee and the council goals for 2025. In addition, the committee believes that the proposed expenditure plan is consistent with the intent of the measure at this time. I want to thank Mr. White, Mr. Blackerby, and Ms. Crawford and Ms. Sauceda for your gracious hospitality and support of the information that came to the committee. So thank you very much. This concludes our portion of the presentation, and we're certainly available for any questions that you might have.
Any colleagues have questions for him? Nope. Good.
Mr. Franklin, it's good to see you back in City Hall. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It is
All
good
right.
to see you.
Thank you.
Our budget book is now digital. It was digitized last year. We are continuing the digital budget book. The URL is linked from the staff report. It's also available on the carousel on the homepage of the city's website, and it's also written right there on that slide. Multiple ways to access this, but this is a digital budget book. It is we're no longer printing budget books as of last year, but the information is from this budget book is interactive, very helpful, and easy to navigate once you learn where different things are, which we'll cover briefly as we go. Takeaway is the budget book is getting better and better, and that means more and more useful to City Council and the community as they're interested in how the city spends money. All right, so navigating this, there's a ribbon at the top. Each one of those tabs has a drop down, and so as you hover over them, a menu will drop down. One highlight off the introduction page is the transmittal letter. Jennifer mentioned, opened up this item with basically an overview of the transmittal letter. This is an overview of the budget, how we adopted, how we were able to compile the budget, and some of the challenges as we move forward. That transmittal letter is a great place to start with any budget. The transmittal in this budget is, in my opinion, outstanding. It's specific to Yucaipa, the challenges that we are currently facing, the challenges that we overcame as we compiled this budget book. It's a outstanding transmittal letter. That's where the user would want to start when they're looking at this budget book. As you go over to the budget overview, again, hovering over each one of those, you'll see that menu drop down. The budget strategy is a great document that discusses in depth how we balance this budget. One of the items that's been mentioned a couple times tonight is the list of exclusions, $6 million of exclusions. That list is attached to this budget strategy page. And so as you were to go in there, you will see this, this document. But that highlights the $6.3 million that's excluded. Now, excluded doesn't necessarily mean cut. Some of these items have been programmed in the past and they're cut out of this year's budget. An example of that would be all the community services items were in there in the past. They are not programmed in fiscal 26, and so those are excluded or cuts. Some of them have never been programmed. The paramedic squad is an example of that, $2.3 million. It hasn't been in there. It's been asked for a couple of years, has not been able to fit, but it's excluded from fiscal 26, not a cut, it's excluded from 26. And then some just continue to be deferred. You can see down towards the bottom, 2.2 in remaining deferred maintenance out of our Public Works Department. That's known deferred maintenance. Facilities around town have known repairs that we keep deferring, saying not this year, not this year. That number's at $2.2 million, after the programming in the fiscal 26 budget. So all of those things are, again, excluded. This isn't an exhaustive list of the exclusions. There's a lot of things that are not, but these are the things that we felt like may be useful to make very clear. These things are not included in the budget. If you thought that they were, they are not. And so we wanted to highlight these. Again, it's not exhaustive. There's lots of things that are not included, but because of the nature of these things, we wanted to make it very clear that they're not. Again, it's not a priority list or an add back list. This doesn't mean that, hey, if we do better than budget, we're starting at the top and bringing these things back one by one. This is simply highlighting these things are excluded from the budget to make the whole thing balance this year. All right. Also on this page, understanding the city budget. That's a great one that kind of walks through the way we categorize operating and capital. One thing that's included on this page that I really like is this chart. We brought this, we started this last year. We called it net cost last year. We continue to add nuance to it and I think make it better and better. This year, we're saying that this is how we use unrestricted funds. And so we get a lot of money that's restricted for use. It can only be used on certain things. But the unrestricted money, we make decisions every year on how we use unrestricted money. And so this is the split of unrestricted money, what we use the unrestricted money on. 60% goes to public safety. Is that a 19% goes to development? 6% goes to community services, and then the support function is 15% of unrestricted funds in the fiscal. This is our fiscal year 26 budget. That's how all that got programmed. That's a useful chart to keep in mind. We spend a lot of money that's restricted for use. We can only use it on certain things. This is the money that we can spend on whatever we want, and this is what we want to spend it on in fiscal 26. All right, moving on the fund summary. This is my favorite tab, the fund summaries, and specifically the all fund summary page. This has a lot of graphs. We talk a lot about all the different funds that we have, but the all fund summary combines everything together and helps us not worry about whether it's general fund, public safety fund, where it is. We just slam it all together. This is one of the interactive charts. Over there on the right, you can see different cost categories: contingency, cost allocation, salaries and benefits, capital and operating, and then grayed out is transfers. Transfers are not real expenses or revenues. We're just moving them between different funds. And so what you can do with this graph is click on that transfers, it'll gray it out, and it'll rerun that chart to show you what the true expenditures, planned expenditures are. And so you can see that in fiscal 26, we have a $100 million budget. That includes operating and capital and salaries, everything. It does not include transfers. Transfers double everything up, so if that wasn't included, it would be closer to $150 million, but it's just doubling up because we're transferring between funds. I really like this page, but that's where you can find what the city spends in fiscal 26. Further down that page, this is our all fund summary. This is an attachment in your packet. And this is where you can see that we indeed did balance the general fund and the public safety fund. And so over there on the right-hand side, the net change in equity, that's what we're looking at to say, do we have a surplus? If we have a positive number, we have a surplus. If we have a negative number, we have a deficit. A zero means we are balanced. Circled our general fund and the public safety fund are two primary operating funds. There are capital items in those funds, but even with the capital items in those funds, we did hit the zero, we balanced, and that's where the user can see that we did in fact meet the objective of balancing the budget. Further down that page is interfund transfers. I won't go through the detail on this, but I did want to highlight all of those interfund movements are budgeted items, and they're all detailed out on that all funds page. All right, getting into the next set of slides are one of our key or primary operating funds, the public safety fund. We have $30 million of inflows and outflows. The left-hand side is the outflows, expenditures. That pie chart is separated by category: police services, fire, paramedic, and code. That's how that fund splits up the 30%. or $30 million. And then on the right-hand side is the inflows. The Pac-Man shaped green is transfers in. And so our biggest inflow in that public safety fund, as we've been talking about, is transfers in, that backfill transfer from the general fund. That's an $18 million transfer in fiscal 26. That's how we balanced the public safety fund. Again, very similar to what we saw in May with that. The general fund, on this page, it has its own page, the general fund. You can see that those bars, the fiscal 26 bars, the left and the right, green and blue, they are the same size. We're balanced. It's a zero. Projected inflows and outflows of $44 million. And again, the general fund includes both operating and capital. And so does the public safety fund. It includes the recently procured fire engines in the budget. Further down the general fund page, this type of graph is available on every page. But again, it's pretty cool, the bar charts. In this one, it's the inflows revenues. So that's how the $44 million was split out in the general fund. If you hover over that bar chart, those numbers will pop up. And so you can see different types of revenues that we have. Down there at the bottom, sales and use taxes, $11.7 million. $6 million of that is Measure S. 5.7 is our Bradley Burns pre-Measure S sales tax. So 11.7 in sales tax, including Measure S this year. But these charts are available on every page as you go through the budget book, and very useful to drill down on anything that you're interested in. Each one of those years, the historical years, is also interactive. So as you hover on those numbers will pop up as well. Still on the general fund page, we've got expenditures, same thing. That green bar there on fiscal 26, that non-departmental, that's a big cost. That's general fund, that's a transfer out of the general fund. $18 million of the $24 million non-departmental cost is that transfer out to the public safety fund. Again, that bar, the height of it is $44 million, the same as the inflow bar, which means we have a zero. All right, and then the biggest update to our budget this year deals with capital budget. We added a module this year, the capital budgeting module, and it's pretty nifty. Hopefully, we have some issues with capital as we move forward, and hopefully the capital budgeting module provides additional transparency, clarity of what we're dealing with, and helps us with solutions. So going back to the all funds page. On that same all funds page, if we move further down, we have our capital project funds, and you can see some of the issues that we're dealing with here. Our accumulated equity or negative equity, specifically in the DIF fund that we've talked about a lot, is on a budgetary basis going to land at $28 million in the hole at the end of this budget cycle. And so it's on the same page. That one page, that all funds page, includes all of this information. But again, the development impact fee funds is something that we've talked about a lot, and it's an ongoing challenge that we've got. One thing to highlight on this is budget carryovers, that column there with the circle. And the budget carryovers are previously authorized spending from City Council. So in years past, based on projects as they come to you in our capital improvement plan, Council will say, yes, approve that project and start moving. We have 50-ish projects in place right now. The previously authorized spending on those 50 projects is that $29 million. So that's already been authorized, already in the queue, authorized to be spent. We just haven't spent it yet. A couple columns over, that proposed expenditures 25, 26, that $5 million, that's new capital spending in the current year. And so this includes our PMP, our street maintenance program, all of that funding. The new request is $5 million. Lots going on in capital. We've got ongoing challenges. That's where you can find it from an all-fund summary. The detail is included in the budget book. The old way of doing that is right here on the fiscal 26 CIP page. There's a PDF down there in the lower left, and you click on that, and you'll see what we call our old CIP pages. That'll have project name, authorized spending, funding sources, things like that, for everything that's in the queue. Our new way of doing it is now this one-year plan page, and this module will highlight, hey, this is what's already in the queue, already authorized, $35 million already authorized in capital. One of the really cool things about this page is, and I said 50 before, it's 49 capital improvement projects. As we move through this gives you clarity on what's already authorized in the transmittal letter, and what you've seen on some of the other items that have come before you is funding, unknown funding, capital in the queue with unknown funding. That list is up to $64 million, and this is not included in the authorized spending. These are projects that we know about, but we need more funding. We don't have the funding. $64 million of funding that we don't know where it is. The way that the city has always budgeted capital, it's based on known funding. And so if we don't have the known funding, we will ask for an authorization to spend up to the known funding, and then we'll phase the project. And so the projects will have multiple phases based on the available funding. If we don't have the funding, then we won't ask for authorization to spend, but we'll add it to this list to say, hey, this is stuff that's ready to go once we find the funding. That number is $64 million. Again, you guys have been seeing that list with some of the capital items as they come to you. It's also in Jennifer's transmittal letter that's up there in the top right, and in our budget book. And remember that list of $64 million, which sounds like a lot, but the biggest item that you don't see on that list is the Wildwood interchange, which is presently estimated to be $135 million. Also not on the list of authorized capital, and nor this list. The point is, we have a very robust, the city has always had a very robust CIP, more than shows up in the one-year budget. There's a lot going on with CIP. For a city the size of Yucaipa, I don't think that anybody has a CIP as robust as we do. There's a lot going on in the city, both in the budget and in the pipeline, the way that we've done it. The way that we do this is not new. It's at least, 20 years old. And this is the way that it is. But it's important to know when we're talking about balancing the general fund and the public safety fund, we did that. But I mean, we're with these items, we're over $200 million beyond the $35 million that's already authorized. Those are big numbers. And so there's a lot going on that we're balancing as we go through it. All right, one other improvement to the CIP budgeting, capital budgeting page. Each of those projects will have these blue titles, and those are hyperlinks. And when you drill down on those hyperlinks, as an example, Wilson Creek Detention Basin 3. So when we look at Wilson 3, we'll get a detailed page. It'll tell you a little bit about the project, where it is. It'll map it for you, give you a little bit of background. As you scroll down that page, it tells you the benefit of to the community. It also tells you the historical cost and the authorized spending of that project. So in this case, there's $1.8 million left of authorized spending on Wilson 3 for a project total of $17 million. As you scroll down further, this shows all the funding sources that add up to that $17 million and what's left to spend. But remember, Wilson 3 is one of those phased projects. And so while there's $1.8 million left to spend that's already been authorized, the estimated cost of completion is closer to $16 million, and that's not been authorized, requested. We're still looking for funding to complete Wilson 3. A lot going on in capital. Hopefully these graphs are going to provide clarity as we move forward with that to help us solve some of those, figure out how to wrap up these projects. This item does have 10 recommendations, all listed, a bunch of resolutions that we are asking for approval of. There's two that are missing related to staffing. the labor negotiations are ongoing. Once those labor negotiations are complete, we will come back with 2 additional items, and those are the 2 resolutions for staffing that we'll plug in. Estimates for staffing costs have been included in the numbers in the fiscal year 26 budget. That's a high-level overview, and staff is available for questions.
Thank you, sir. My colleagues have any questions for staff?
I do.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Beaver.
Phil, just thank you for the presentation. Obviously, these are, convoluted government budgets that are not easy to follow, especially for people who are not used to them. They're very layered, and I try to think of them as instead of a ladder, several ladders, right? It's not just one step that we're looking at. It's what step of different ladders are we talking about? With that being said, I do have a question, and it's a kind of a direct question. Hopefully we can get a direct answer. In this budget, is there a clear map that shows that the Measure S funds that are generated are excluded on public safety?
You cut out, the Measure S funds are,
Exclusively being spent on public safety.
yeah. So the short answer is no, and I know you were hoping for a direct answer. The short answer is no, and the reason for that is the Measure S money lands in, it's unrestricted. It lands in the general fund. And then the use of the general fund unrestricted dollars is spent along with all the other unrestricted funds. What the city has chosen to do, and what we talked about at the Measure S Oversight Committee, was the backfill transfer from the general fund to the public safety fund, which is $18 million. That $18 million transfer, I would opine that includes the $6 million of Measure S money and $10 million of all of the property tax money that lands in the general fund. So that's $10 million, and the $6 million, that's $16 million, and there's an $18 million transfer to public safety. And so while I would say we have $18 million of unrestricted money going to the public safety fund to be used on public safety, another user of the financial statements could say, no, the unrestricted money was other unrestricted money. And so I think that, yes, 3 times as much as Measure S was used for the backfill transfer because it lands in the general fund and then gets carved up and spent. It's not straightforward, but long answer, but in my opinion, it was used exclusively for public safety. However, it's unrestricted money and was transferred from the general fund to the public safety fund.
Okay. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Obviously, if it was a public safety sales tax, it would land differently. But I think we as a city government are doing the best we can to show that we are prioritizing the funding of public safety by transferring such a large amount to the public safety fund. And as long as we are continuously doing that as a show of good faith that public safety is and will remain the priority of the city of Yucaipa, and that the sales tax measure that was sold to the voters as a public safety tax that would go to fund and keep from cutting the funding to our public safety and critical essential services is being met, then I think we're on the right track there. Obviously, I'm sad that we have seen such a large cut to our community services. I think our Mayor Pro Tem said it best earlier that Megan and her team do an amazing job providing these events and these feel-good opportunities in our community for our community to come together. But with that being said, we can't, and I don't think we can in good faith, be having a discussion just a few short months ago about shutting down fire stations and cutting the services to our police department, only to then find ourselves rescued even momentarily from financial disaster and continue to fund things when we know, quite frankly, we just don't have the money to do so. I think our interim city manager did a good job leading off this presentation and explaining that our city has chosen over the last 30 some odd years to make the decision that we will maintain this rural character, and perhaps to our detriment. Instead of finding a way to compromise, we've just had a hard no in the sand, line in the sand rather, that has turned away from all type of development that could be generating revenues for our city. And then we find ourselves in the financial problems that we find ourselves in now, and that we want to have this amazing community. We want to have these nationally recognized law enforcement and fire experts and professionals in the field, and we want to have all these nice things, but paying for them is where we're coming up short. These are the discussions that have to be had in the community. Is we want nice things, but that takes money. Thank you for. I'm happy we have presented a balanced budget. I'm excited to see a strategic plan come forward so that we can make this a not just the anomaly, but rather the standard by which we live, and ensuring that our funding and our budget has to be balanced every year. That needs to be the not just the priority. It has to be the standard by which we live by.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else?
Yes, I don't have a question. I just have a comment. There is a need for ongoing monitoring, especially with the Measure S funds and public safety expenditures. We do need to keep a clear communication with the public on a monthly basis for trust to be established with the taxpayers. And I do have one request. I would also like to see regular reports in regards to community services, such as revenue and actual expenses that on the events that are held. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. White, and Ms. Crawford, thank you for presenting, and I know you guys put a lot of work in, and the cuts are tough. I know Megan had to take quite a bit with her staff of formulating what they could do. So thanks for the work you guys put together. Just a couple areas I want to just, from the public safety side, you receive a Schedule A, which is really cost of services for Sheriff's Department. And it lists everything from a captain to equipment to a patrol car to equipment, the whole 9 yards. Now, the Schedule A we got this year to budget off of was pretty much similar to last year, but we don't have the raise factored in yet. They'll probably, I would anticipate by fall, will have their contract, I would assume, ratified or at least agreed to. Have we factored that in, just in case?
Yeah, yes, sir. So as you mentioned, the Schedule A was provided to us with an asterisk, with a disclaimer of there's changes coming, and so we did factor that in. We did not want to present an option for a balanced budget this evening and then come back to you in the fall and say, hey, we knew about something that we didn't tell you about. We don't know what the final number is, but we have certainly included our best estimate. We think our estimate is good, and we have included that as a contingency in our budget that's before you.
Mr. White, thank you for planning for that, because I thought maybe at mid-year we'd have to come back, but it looks like we've already planned that. Excellent.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Crawford, I noticed in the budget and out of Finance Committee, we discussed that you've absorbed the Government Affairs unit into your unit, and that's a major cut we've made. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Joe Perdetto will be resigning from the city. He's submitted his resignation months ago. And so we will not have a director for that position. So we will have the senior management analyst move over, and some of the legislative contract costs will slide under the city manager department.
And we'll still be able to provide effective and efficient service in our government relations. We just think we're going to be able to absorb it and just look at it a different way. We'll retool that, I think is what we're going to do, right?
Yes.
Thank you very much, both of you. Good job.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
Yes, Carla McCorkle.
Carla McCorkle, 35656 Panorama Drive, Yucaipa. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. I stand before you tonight as a passionate advocate for the preservation of the cherished community events that serve as the lifeblood of our town. These gatherings, the concerts in the park, the movies in the park, The Easter Extravaganza, Make a Difference Day, and the 4th of July celebration are not just events. They are traditions that weave the fabric of our community and create lasting memories for residents of all ages. Together, these 5 events require an allocation of about $155,000 from the general fund. While this may seem like a notable investment at first glance, I urge you to view it as a modest price to pay for the immense benefits these activities bring to our citizens. They enhance quality of life, foster connections among neighbors, and showcase the vibrant spirit of our town. The summer concerts in the park, for instance, have been a cornerstone of our community since its incorporation. These musical evenings represent more than entertainment. They are a venue for unity, family bonding, and community enrichment. Also, the movies in the park offer accessible and wholesome recreation for families, while the Easter Extravaganza delights children and parents alike. And it fosters joy and togetherness. Make a Difference Day highlights our town's commitment to service and collaboration, and the 4th of July celebration is a time-honored tradition that brings us together to appreciate our shared values and freedoms. I understand the fiscal challenges the council faces, but I believe that by exploring innovative solutions, we can find ways to keep these beloved events. Tonight, I humbly ask you to prioritize the preservation of these events, recognizing their profound impact on our community's identity and well-being. Let us work together to ensure that future generations can experience the joy, unity, and pride that these occasions bring. Thank you for your time, dedication, and consideration of this important matter. Thank you again.
I have no more cards.
Thank you, ma'am. Do I have a motion from my colleagues?
Well, a motion to move the budget forward.
That includes all items 1 through 10?
Do we have to do them individually?
No.
Anna, can we
No, you
do
can
1 through
take-
10?
One motion sufficient for all 10.
I'd like to do, my motion is to accept 1 through 10 and move the budget forward at this time.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Got a first and a second.
Can I have a point of clarification, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead, sir.
To our finance director, Mr. White, just a point of clarification, please. In light of the comment that was just made, I wanted to clarify you said a word. I want to make sure I'm getting it right. It wasn't a cut. It was an exclusion. Is that accurate? These are not things that we are saying that will be a permanent cut to the city of Yucaipa. Rather, these community events, it's if I was to put it to something similar, is if I experience some financial hardship in my job, I need to make sure that I'm paying my mortgage before I make sure I have tickets to go see the movies or a concert. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir, that's accurate. I would add that while these are excluded from the fiscal 26 budget, if I could plug the upcoming strategic plan, that is an opportunity for the community to voice how we move forward out of this and how we balance fiscal 27 and beyond, incorporating a balance of community services, public safety, development, how we move forward as a community. And that would be, these budgets are one year, and so it was not included in the 1 year spending plan. However, that does not mean that it's permanently gone. And there is an opportunity for everyone to participate in the upcoming strategic plan moving forward to see how we piece it back together.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. I agree with everything that was said by our speaker. Every one of these, this is not an easy. Yet again, we find ourselves making a decision tonight that is not easy. That we have to live with. But at the end of the day, we have to do better as a community in making sure that our revenues are in place to have these nice community events. And just for this fiscal year, I don't see a way that we can plug these all in and still have a balanced budget. Moving forward with these new developments in town, Raising Cane's, Trader Joe's. I heard of Buffalo Wild Wings potentially, another hotel opening up here soon, hopefully on Oakland and Colorado. Hopefully these revenues will come in so that the city can then go back to having these nice community events because we're able to have a revenue stream that can support them. So I apologize, Mr. Mayor, for the interruption, but I think there was a motion in a second, so I'll yield back.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it's important to all of us on the city council. We're not saying these things aren't important. And certainly down the road, I think they have their place to bring them back in at the right timing. So we had a first and a second, so now we need to do a roll call.
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, ma'am. This is your item, item 21.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. Item 21 is the review and consideration of fiscal year 2025-2026 community activity grant applications. At the March 24th regular City Council meeting, the City Council reviewed and approved the CAG program guidelines by a vote of 5-0. The direction was provided to staff to budget $20,000 for financial and $40,000 for in-kind grants for fiscal year 25-26. The grant opportunity notice was released and 17 grant applications were received. The CAG Ad Hoc Committee met on Monday, June 2nd to review and recommend financial and/or in-kind support for council consideration. The table on page 345 of the packet includes the name of the requesting applicant, a brief description of their proposed project scope, the total support requested, and the ad hoc committee recommended awards. I do have a few public comment cards, so if you'd like, we'll move to the public comment, and then I will continue my presentation. So we will start with Kyra Stewart, followed by Zuli Martinez.
Oh, sorry. Okay, good evening. Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, and others. My name is Kyra Stewart. I am with Family Service Association of Redlands, and we run a satellite office on 11985 4th Street in the city of Yucaipa, and we've been running that satellite office since 2016 with the donated space of Redlands Community Hospital. And it seems now more than ever, it's very important to pay attention to all of the dollars that are invested through the city of Yucaipa. I just want to say thank you so much for your past support and present support and hopeful future support. I wanted to share some numbers with you. In that satellite office on 4th Street, we do have case managers, and we have an emergency food pantry, as well as a clothing room. And in 2024, 257 Yucaipa residents were able to receive emergency rental assistance and deposits, as well as motel vouchers, 497 bags of food, Stater Brother gift cards that the organization invests in, as well as other case management services. So I just wanted to make you aware that the organization is committed to invest our own funding as well as private grants and your all's generous support. Thank you so much.
Zuli Martinez, followed by Donna Snodgrass.
Good evening, council members. My name is Zuli Martinez, Yucaipa Valley Art Association. The Yucaipa Valley Art Association has been around since 1985 as part of the community to support the arts and photography. Our organization supports the talents and artistic endeavors of high school students, college students, and adults in our community. Just last week, we awarded 2 college scholarships at the Yucaipa High School. So that is a way that we actually give back to the community. And we're happy to do that to, again, keep our students engaged in the arts, liberal arts, or any type of art, and go on to college. We also wanted to thank the City of Yucaipa for continuing to partner and support our activities in this community. Of course, this year we were part of the Music and Arts Festival this May, and we're very happy to be part of that because it allows the public and the community to know about the arts and our organization. It brings awareness, so we're very happy to participate in that. We also partnered with the city in the winter to hold a winter art exhibition at the YPAC, and that was part of Winterfest. So again, we're very happy to be involved with the city to promote the arts. The city staff has been very instrumental in helping us organize some of these events or support these events. We could not do it without the help of Megan Wolf, who has reached out to us and made us a part of some of these events, so we're very happy to be that. The other thing is that most of our activities are occurring throughout the year at the Shear Community Center, and some of our art club activities are also featured in the city summer community guide. So we're very happy that that is being published, and it lets artists and photographers know about our organization. This year we are submitting 2 grants to support our art activities at the Shear Community Center. And again, we thank the city for considering our CAG grants. We look forward to receiving the funding, and these are in-kind CAG grants for the Yucaipa Valley Art Association. So again, thank you very much for supporting our organization, and we look forward to continuing to promote the arts and the talents of students and artists in Yucaipa and Cali Mesa. Okay. Thank you.
Donna Snodgrass, followed by Holly Warner.
Good evening again, Donna Snodgrass, Walnut Grove Court. I just have a question, and it concerns funding, these funding, and the lists for Yucaipa Calimesa Family Assistance, Yucaipa Calimesa Veterans Committee, the Yucaipa Pickleball asking for funds for the Yucaipa Calimesa Joint Unified School District. These lists here that include Calimesa, I'm wondering if if grants have been requested from Calimesa to help fund these things, or is Yucaipa funding these programs for Calimesa as well? We're trying to save money. We just cut some community activities, and I would like to know if Calimesa is helping us fund some of these programs. Thank you.
Holly Warner.
Very different hat tonight. As you know, I'm the coordinator of Yucaipa Calimesa Family Assistance, and we've applied for a grant, and I know that times are really tough in terms of your budget, so I really wanted to talk to you personally about what we asked for and why we asked for it. So in the past 2.5 years, we've seen almost a 3-fold increase in the number of people that are coming through our door to our free food pantry. We're now seeing over 2,200 people a month. Looking at the numbers, it's about between 38% to about 43% of those people are seniors, and I think that that's because inflation has hit people on fixed income the hardest. And the reason we are requesting this money is actually because of our parking lot. We had a lot of potholes and areas that needed to get patched because I was concerned a lot of our seniors were coming in with walkers and have mobility issues, and so the board identified it as an issue of safety and making sure that people can get into our facility. So that's the reason we requested the $1,600 is just to patch some places and kind of fix our entrance area and parking lot where people are coming in just as a public safety issue. I will say also that we've seen a significant rise in the last 3 months, not only of people and seniors as a whole, but also a lot of veterans And in the past, you've always supported Yucaipa Calamasa Family Assistance. I hope you'll continue to do that. It's a really good organization and very frontline social service for people in our community. Answering Linda's question, most of our clients, because I see the zip codes when people come in, that they give their zip code, their household size, whether they're seniors or veterans in the household, and the vast majority are 92399, not Calamasa, but we are open to people from Calamasa coming in our doors as well. We do apply for grants through other agencies, and actually for our parking lot grant, we actually applied half of our estimate we were asking for you, and actually half we asked for a grant from Morongo to help us fix our pavement issues. Anyways, I know that you've got some tough decisions in terms of your budget. This isn't a huge amount of money, and it really makes a difference in our community, so I hope you'll consider our grant application. Thank you.
I have no more public comment cards on this item.
Thank you, ma'am. Any
Okay. Sorry, just a little bit more on the presentation side. Okay, if I can have you direct your attention to the screen over here, we have our community activity grant allocation worksheet. So you'll see here the applicants, the description of the event and the program. The first, so over here we have the amounts that were requested. When we went to the CAG ad hoc committee, they did recommend approval of all applications as is. We did come in under budget with the approval of all items. However, we have received some updated numbers, and that is going to be this highlighted section over here in yellow. So specifically for Love Yucaipa, there was an update to the in-kind fee. This accounts for the use of the amphitheater over at the community center at the community park. And then also for the Yucaipa Valley Art Association, we received some updated amounts on the permit side from community services. And so these dollar amounts are a little bit different from what the ad hoc committee recommended. However, we are still under budget even with these changes. So I did just want to point that out. These changes did come in after the agenda was posted. So I did just want council to make note of that. But aside from that, that concludes my presentation. Tonight, we're asking that you review and consider the grant awards. And number 2, determine that the Childhood Cancer Foundation of Southern California should be exempt from the grant guidelines that require the organization to be located in Yucaipa if their community activity grant is awarded. I am available for any questions.
My colleagues have any questions for staff?
Yes, I do. I have concerns with Love Yucaipa. First of all, there should be no public money that should be going to any church or any religious organization. There, according to what the gentleman said earlier, there were 7 churches last year participated. It seems to me that between the 7 churches, they could raise $570 per church to hold this event. Also, on their application, it specifically states that they must be an established 501c. The only backup that I see on that is a letter dated to First Baptist Church in March of 2022 requesting information on a Form 941X and a 941. Those forms are reports on income taxes, payroll taxes, Social Security taxes, Medicare taxes withheld from employees' wages. How does that relate to a 501c? I know with our church, we do a lot of different community events. We support a lot of things. We don't come to the city and ask for money. We handle our own activities through donations from the congregation. Also, in their application, they're requesting out of this money that it would include Love Yucaipa t-shirts for project leaders at a cost of $500. We just cut, in our $6 million cuts, $4,000 for police, volunteer, and explorer uniforms.
We also cut $11,000 for public safety, events, booth materials, police, and fire. This project needs to be funded by the churches that are involved, not the city.
Did it?
That's the first one.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. The second one, I do have a little issue with the pickleball because all of your other sports, soccer, Little League, baseball, football, and all those, they provide their own uniforms and equipment. So it is a school function, in my understanding. So I believe that pickleball should support their own event. And have they contacted the city? Are they interested or willing to pay for those expenses? That's it. School district, what did I say?
City.
That's
Okay.
okay.
Any other council members?
Mayor, are we going line by line, or?
She made her presentation, and so now we're at comments, and then we're going to see what we can do on a motion.
Yeah, I'm going to concur a little bit with my council member to my left, Woosley, on the Love Yucaipa, which really is Love Our Cities, and that started in Modesto, and that really is driven by faith-based organizations and donations from businesses and community members, and it's really holistically, you bring these teams together to work on projects at schools or fix fencing, and it's kind of what happened. It was a great event, but it's really driven from the nonprofit side. There are city services, if you look at Modesto where it started, where Randy used to be a pastor, actually, I think that's where he started. It is more of a community thing. There's Love Our Cities all up and down California, probably across the country now. But it's usually the city is more in-kind services, like providing a venue and maybe some, I think they had the fire truck out there or some city services. But the meat of it, as far as, providing T-shirts and stuff like that, is normally from that side that they do through their fundraising. And I know our church, I go to the same church Judy does, actually. I don't know if they were involved with that, but they do a lot of things also where they raise their money on their own. So I would, the in-kind is fine for the facility. As far as T-shirts and banners and stuff, I would suggest that they go back to their organization and maybe try to raise that another way, because that was the initial concept of these Love Your Cities. If you look it up, you can look it up on our website, actually, and see how they started in Modesto, which is, the concept is great, but their connections with cities is normally, it's more the in-kind for, I'm being repetitive, but for the facility and maybe some minor services. It's more driven from the non-governmental organizations. So that was my viewpoint. I did research it a little bit a few years ago. I think the concept's good, but remember, this competed a few years ago with our Make a Difference Day for the city. We had our own Make a Difference Day where we did projects. I think our former city manager, Ray Casey, used to have planting trees up at Dorado Park up there and doing stuff. So there's a city side to this too, where we can do things also. So we don't want to compete. We want to do things together. But, we just have to think about that a little bit. Council Member Woosley brought that up. I'm not sure about T-shirts and banners, I'll be honest with you. But, offering a facility, I could agree with that part of it.
Thank you, sir.
Can I respond to that, please? The application specifically states, to be able to receive in-kind, you must provide proof of a 501c. Nothing was provided for that. Are they a 501c?
Councilmember, I can confirm, we did reach out to them earlier today, and they did provide verification of that, so they are verified.
And you have a copy of that?
I do, yes. I have a copy with me if you'd like to see it.
I still have the concern of giving public money to religious organizations. We set a precedent last time when we approved the in-kind service for them. Now,
If I may for a moment.
yes, go ahead,
I'm
Justin.
sorry. Okay. If I'm reading it correctly as I'm sitting here, while I see that there is affiliation with the Grace Point Baptist, and it says that Grace Point Fellowship, First Baptist Church of Yucaipa. I understand that, but if you scroll down to the description, describe the program and event, it says, it doesn't say Grace Point Baptist. What it says is Love Yucaipa is a citywide day of community service that began with high energy kickoff rally. So I think I see what you're doing, and you're reading the exact name of the applicant, and that is that they put it down there. We can't argue that. But if you go down to the name of the program and event is Love Yucaipa, and it's a citywide community event. So I had when you first started speaking, I was having a hard time connecting the dots as to this is giving money to a church rather giving money to an event in the city, a community service event. I agree, and I think I said it before to the pastor when he spoke, that I think that there should be an opportunity either on your webpage through not Save Yucaipa, rather Love Yucaipa, to accept donations, accept money from the community members who would like to give, accept money from the council members of Yucaipa or even Calamasa, to build your funds that way rather than to use taxpayer dollars. So to those ends, I agree, but I think the in-kind service is the exact thing we should be doing as a council. Is this benefits more than a religious organization. This type of community event benefits YAPS, it benefits the school district, it benefits our pickleball league, which is growing year over year. And so to that point, I don't see this as giving money to a church, rather but an investment into our community.
Mayor, your city attorney has to wade into this policy discussion just a little bit. U.S. Supreme Court precedent would prohibit the city from denying a religious organization from competing for a secular grant on the same terms and conditions as any other applicant. The case on point that came to my mind was Trinity Lutheran Church. This was a church that filed for a grant to do a playground refurbishment. The playground refurbishment didn't have anything to do with proselytizing, the exercise of the religion itself. And the state, in prohibiting them from competing or even applying for that grant because they were a religious organization, the U.S. Supreme Court found in 2017 that violated the free exercise clause of the Constitution. So it goes to what are the funds being used for? If the funds are being used for worship purpose, proselytizing, those sort of religious activities, then absolutely right, the separation of church and state would require probably that we not fund that. But when we're talking about a activity that's open to the public, that is an otherwise secular activity, I think we would have some challenges by categorically excluding religious organizations.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I think we should give the balance to our nonprofit of the year, Seniors, Smiles for Seniors, I think it was. Was that the nonprofit of the year? I believe it was. So I think that we should give our balance, I think it's what, $232? It's a little bit.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, just a note on that. So this is the first year that we're implementing a 100% match. So the city council did approve this last year. It goes into effect this year. So any financial amount that is being requested, the organization is required to provide us proof that they're matching that 100%. So while I think that's a very noble gesture on your part, increasing their dollar amount, giving them the balance, that would then indicate that they would have to provide proof that they're going to match it for $7,000 versus the $3,000 that they requested. I don't know that we have anybody here tonight from Smiles for Seniors that can confirm that they would be willing to match the $7,000. So I just would hate to put you in a situation there based on the guidelines that were already approved by the council.
Okay.
That's all you got. That's all you got. All right, so we need a motion then.
I'll make a motion pass it the way it is.
You got a first, do I have a second? To accept as recommended.
And just for clarification, the recommended would be alternative number 1 with the amended amounts, correct?
As presented now versus what was in the report.
Thank
right?
you. Okay.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the Mayor Pro Tem's motion.
I would like to make a substitute motion. I am move. Okay,
Well, we got a first and a second. So let's see how that goes, and then if that fails, then you can make your second motion.
is that proper?
We can absolutely proceed in that manner if you'd like. City Attorney tries not to be overtly parliamentarian with the council. If that's the ruling of the chair, the mayor's the chair, and that's how you'd like to proceed, then the council could proceed in that manner, or you could override his decision.
Let's hear what you have to say.
Okay. My motion would be, I move to approve item 1 through 3, 5 through 11, but exclude item 4.
I'm sorry, what's,
On what grounds?
I'm sorry, item 1.
So that would be the Love Yucaipa one. So
It
she's
would be-
accepting all
It
but,
would be Grace Point.
right.
That's the item that I would like to exclude. I am in a position right now because I do not want to approve that project for various reasons that I have expressed. And in order to not approve that item, I have to vote no on the whole thing.
So, Mayor, to sort of assist the council in moving this along, the council member could make a motion to approve all of them except for the Love Yucaipa item. You could take a vote on that. Another council member could then make a motion on the Love Yucaipa, allowing Councilmember Woolsey to vote no if she wished. You don't have to exclude them. That doesn't mean that you're voting no on it. It just means they're not being approved in that first motion.
I'm open to that.
Are we still in discussion?
Yes.
It sounds like we are.
All right. If we're still in discussion, Mayor, can I be recognized?
Good.
Would you consider, since we're in a business meeting, just the in-kind only, that they can hold the event only? Maybe not the T-shirts and the banners and everything, but consider just to hold the event at the, I think it's a community center, right?
Yeah, it's on the recommendation to be at the community center in the amphitheater park.
That just as a, because if you, I was looking at how it turned out last year, there was a lot of good work done out there that no matter how it came together, I did ask the city manager to check with Calamasa today and to see if they asked them for anything, or some of these groups, has anybody reached out? They don't even have a community grant system yet that they are now gonna, probably because I asked, has anybody reached out to you? Because one of our great folks came to the podium and says, everything says Yucaipa, Calamasa. My simple question was today, what is Calamasa doing? I love our brothers and sisters next to us, but if it's, who's bearing most of the costs? Is it Yucaipa or Calamasa? Even though this is a community activity grant, this is still general fund money. So would you consider, would you consider if it was just the in-kind for the venue, notwithstanding the banners and the shirts, I think was listed, they could go fundraise for that. Churches do that all the time. And businesses or maybe council members may donate to that, or people in the community. Would that be something we could consider to get all of them moved forward?
So you're saying that give them the in-kind, but they raise their own 4,000?
It would be up to them. We would just approve the in-kind. This was a $650, city manager?
Yes.
That's correct.
That would be my motion, or why don't I, we're in the middle of a motion, so I would ask you to reconsider your motion. Would you consider that? Since we're in a business meeting, we're doing business in front of the public.
Right.
This is our chance to do it, so we can move the thing forward.
While you think about that, I'm not trying to
Okay.
cut you off, but while you think about that,
Okay.
two things. Earlier, the clerk mentioned that they, because of what the council has ruled on before, they have to match. So they're matching that 4,000 somewhere else.
That's correct.
So they're putting into this with our contributing that at least $8,000.
That's correct. So every dollar amount that you see there under the recommended financial, those organizations have committed to matching 100% for what you see up there.
Okay. Well, we do have a first and a second on the floor. And then we also have your amended motion. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take all excluding that one on the motion, and then we bring that one back right now and have a little more dialogue on that? Because we've already got the one motion. We got a first and a second, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Beaver. Are you okay with that?
So you're doing what the lawyer suggested?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, you keep thinking about what Councilman Miller has
Yes.
just proposed.
Yes.
Moving this forward, while you're thinking about that,
Right.
let's entertain the vote from the motion and the second from Mayor Pro Tem and Beaver, if they're agreeable to doing all but the one.
Okay.
And then we can have further discussion on this one, because I got a funny feeling that this may take a little bit more conversation.
Yes, if I can, yes, go ahead. I agree.
You amenable to that?
Yes.
Councilman Beaver, you agreeable to that?
I'll amend my motions.
Okay, so we have a first and a second to accept as presented on the presentation, except for Grace Point. That'll be a separate matter. And we'll have to do roll call.
Yes. Councilmember Beaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable? Yes. Mayor Thorpe?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now, Grace Point. Love Yucaipa.
Yes.
What is your motion on that? What do you want to do?
I move that it be denied.
Okay, do I have a second? Hearing none, sounds like the motion fails. Do I have an alternate motion?
Mayor, I have an alternate motion.
Okay.
I would move that we move forward with Love Yucaipa with the in-kind, providing the venue for, I think it's $650 if I read it right.
Correct.
And then we can talk to their organization. They can fundraise the other part of that as Love Our Cities do. But I would say provide the in-kind. That's my motion.
Okay, so I've got a first. Do I have a second? I don't hear any. So it sounds like that motion failed. So I'll make a motion that we accept it as presented in the staff report tonight. Do I have
I'll
a second?
second that.
Okay, I've got a first and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Got excited. We were getting somewhere.
Okay, so this is going to be to approve the Love Yucaipa as is.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Councilmember Beaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
No.
Councilmember Woolsey?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Mr. Mayor, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead, sir.
So perhaps moving forward, Pastor Balling, if you're there still and you're listening, I think the city of Yucaipa now twice has provided some good seed money for your organization and for this awesome community-driven event that benefits the entirety of the community to get started. But I don't think, actually, I can tell you my motion and my vote will not be the same next year. I think this is something that you have all the ability to grow as a standalone while accepting donations. But the city has done a good job in maybe establishing some seed money for you moving forward.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moves us to item number 22. Ms. Megan Wolf.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Today I stand before you to present a heartfelt recommendation submitted by the Parks and Recreation Commission regarding an individual whose legacy continues to inspire us all, Detective Jeremiah McKay. As you know, on February 12th, 2013, Detective McKay bravely gave his life in the line of duty while protecting the residents of our county. He was a 15-year veteran of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, and a significant portion of his distinguished career was dedicated to the wonderful city of Yucaipa. In May of 2013, shortly after his passing, City Council undertook the solemn task of honoring Detective McKay's memory. At that time, the council directed staff to rename and dedicate the section of 6th Street extending from Yucaipa Boulevard to north in his honor. On March 26, 2025, the Park and Recreation Commission unanimously passed a motion to nominate Detective Jeremiah McKay for the Honor Walk. If approved this evening, a bronze plaque on a boulder would be added to the Honor Walk between Tooker Park and the police station. This 17 by 17 plaque would serve as a lasting tribute to Detective McKay, allowing residents and visitors alike to remember and honor his commitment to keeping Yucaipa safe. The estimated cost for manufacturing and installing this is approximately $3,000. And I am pleased to report that there is adequate funding in our Public Works operating budget for this project. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for staff?
Nope. I'll make a motion.
I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Forgive me. I would request, if we could, moving forward, and if we can even amend this staff report to redact the name of the monster that murdered our friend, Jeremiah. He doesn't deserve the publicity and having his name in print ever again. Secondly, I folded the flag that was given to Lynette ultimately, following Jeremiah's murder, and I'm certain. I know very well that my tears still are embedded in that flag, because that was the most difficult thing I've ever done in law enforcement. And it was my first time serving on the honor guard, having a ceremony for one of our own. This is a small token of what our community can do to recognize and continue to recognize Jeremiah as the hero that he is, having rushed towards an unspeakable danger to protect the lives of our citizens and community from a monster that had no business in our county or our little corner of the world. So I know that I think our mayor pro tem started to get the motion out, but I would really like to be the one to motion approval on this item. And if there's anything we can do to our city clerk to redact the name of the monster who did this, we don't need to have his name in print ever. He doesn't deserve it.
Thank you, sir. Do we have public comment on this one?
We have no comments on this item.
So we have a first.
I'll retract my first and give it to Justin.
Okay. And we need a second?
I'll second it.
So we got a first and second. Roll call vote?
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you, ma'am. Item number 23.
That's mine.
It's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, item 23 tonight is the review of applications and appointment of citizens to the Vector Control Committee and Healthy Yucaipa Committee, and the review of the 2025 regional committee assignments and the 2025 committees of the city of Yucaipa, and advise the city clerk of any changes. Over the last couple of months, we have looked at the various commissions and committees of the city, and council has made numerous appointments. Tonight, we will be looking at the Vector Control Committee and Healthy Yucaipa Committee. We'll begin with the Vector Control Committee. If you turn your attention to the screen, you will see the current roster of this committee. We have received enough applications for each category on this committee. If council approves the applications received, we will still have one vacancy under the general public category and one vacancy under the representative of the poultry industry category. Staff will continue recruiting for the vacant positions. At this time, we ask that the council consider appointing all applicants for each category shown on the screen and also appoint the 2 non-voting council members. That's the first part that's the conclusion of the first part of the presentation. So if council would like to consider these applications and also appoint the non-voting council members, I can move on to the next part.
Okay, then we're not going to do any public comment on this part?
No comments on this item.
Okay. Do I have a comment or a motion from my colleagues?
I'll be one of the council members.
Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that. You guys with that? Yeah, you can't speak. Are you guys okay with that?
Yes, I'm Mayor Pro Tem.
So Mayor Pro Tem, do you need a second?
Yes, 2 non-voting council members.
I would give Councilwoman Woosley on there.
I second that. Do you accept?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we can get a motion and a second to approve that list of applicants along with the non-voting council members.
I'll make a motion to approve the list and the 2 non-voting council members of Mayor Pro Tem Venable and Council Member Woosley.
I just have a question. How often does that meet, or what?
I think it's once a month.
Okay.
So the second was Councilman Beaver. I don't know if you heard him.
Thank you.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Beaver?
Apologies, I was on mute. Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe?
Yes.
Motion carried.
That yes sounded a little sheepish down there.
Well, yeah, it's, okay, no problem.
Okay, next we will move on to the Healthy Yucaipa Committee. We have 1 vacant at-large position, and we have received a total of 2 applications. We ask that the council select one of the applicants to serve on the Healthy Yucaipa. One of the applications that we received for this committee was received a little late and was not included in the packet. However, the unredacted versions were emailed to the council for review, and we did provide copies on the back counter. But both those names are listed as part of the staff report on page 606. So if council would like to consider one of those applicants for appointment to Healthy Yucaipa.
And no comments on this?
No public comments.
Okay. Do I have a motion from any of my council members? I'll make a motion for Gardner, the first one.
Okay.
Second that motion.
So we got a first and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Beaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe?
Yes.
Motion carried to appoint Beatrice Gardner to the Healthy Yucaipa Committee. Okay, and for recommendation number 2 of this item, we're asking that you review the current city council membership on regional committees, city standing committees, and city ad hoc committees. I received a request for a change to the current membership on Omnitrans. Currently, Councilmember Beaver is the primary and Councilmember Woolsey is the alternate. Due to Councilmember Woolsey's availability, she has requested to be the primary member for Omnitrans. I'd like to recommend that we go down the list for each committee, and council can let me know of any changes. If you turn to page 620 of your agenda packet, we can start with the regional committees. This would just be a good chance for council members to consider your schedules and consider some of the assignments that you currently have on your plate, and if it still makes sense, or if you would like to make changes. Normally, these appointments are something that we do on an annual basis, but since we're taking up Omnitrans, I figured this would be a good time to just review all of them. So if we can start with regional committees, Crafton Hills Open Space Conservancy, we have the member as Councilmember Beaver and the alternate as Mayor Pro Tem Venable. Do we have any changes there?
No change.
Okay. Omnitrans, currently we have Councilman Beaver, and then the alternate is Councilmember Woolsey. The recommendation is to switch those two.
I would just like to correct a little comment on that. I did ask Justin, because of his schedule, if it would be easier for him if we switch positions. So he agreed. He can confer that if he would like, so.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there a consensus for that change? Yep. Okay.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. Let's move on to the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority. We have the member as Councilmember Woolsey and the alternate is Mayor Pro Tem Venable. Any changes? No?
You still good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. The SBCTA Metro Valley Study Session, again, Councilmember Woolsey and Mayor Pro Tem Venable. We're okay with that?
Good.
Okay. The Solid Waste Advisory Task Force, also known as SWAT. We have the member as Councilmember Miller. Are we okay with that, sir? Sure. All right. We will move on to our committees of the City of Yucaipa. We have our ad hoc committees. We have the Casablanca Advisory. We have the member as Mayor Thorpe and the second member as Mayor Pro Tem Venable. Any changes there?
I'm okay with it.
Okay, the Community Activity Grant Application Review Committee, we have Councilmember Beaver and Mayor Thorpe. Any changes?
I'm still okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. The Five Winds Ranch Improvement Advisory Committee, we have Mayor Pro Tem Venable and Councilmember Beaver. We're good? Okay. We have the Library Ad Hoc Committee, we have Mayor Thorpe and Councilmember Miller.
I'm okay with it.
Good. Okay. We have our Public Arts Ad Hoc Committee, we have Councilmember Miller and Councilmember Woolsey.
That's good.
We have our Public Safety Ad Hoc Committee. We have Councilmember Beaver and Councilmember Miller. That works. Okay, we have our Solid Waste Ad Hoc Committee. We currently have Mayor Pro Tem Venable and Mayor Thorpe.
I'm already sitting on SWAT. Do you want me to be the alternate, John, or do you guys want to still sit on that?
If you want to, I'll step aside.
Okay. Why don't I do it? Because I'm already sitting on the county one, or on the regional one.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and make the change. Councilmember Miller and Mayor Pro Tem Venable will serve on the Solid Waste Ad Hoc Committee. We have the Yucaipa Diamond Dreams Ad Hoc Committee. We have Councilmember Beaver and Councilmember Miller. Okay. We have the Yucaipa Valley Chamber of Commerce Ad Hoc Committee. We have Councilmember Woolsey and Councilmember Miller.
I'm good.
Okay. And then lastly, we have our only standing committee, our Finance Committee. We have Councilmember Woolsey and Councilmember Miller.
Good.
We're good?
Ma'am, on your previous table, I'm not sure maybe I just missed it, but the Southern California Association of Governments, the SCAG one, with just Councilmember Woolsey, did you go over that one?
I didn't, and I didn't mention that one because that one is a direct appointment where Councilmember Woolsey was appointed by them, so we really have no authority to make that change.
Thank you.
Okay, aside from that, that concludes this presentation.
Do we need to vote on that? Other than
Yes,
the
please, let's take a motion in a second.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And a first and a second, now we get to do a roll call.
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, item number 24, Mr. Graham.
Yes, so this is actually the second reading of an ordinance that you've already introduced for first reading and approved. It's on the discussion items for second reading because we've added the adoption of an urgency ordinance, which has the exact same language. It's identical language. And the reason for that is in looking at the city council schedule and how long it takes an ordinance to go into effect, If we had simply adopted this on regular order, the fines would not have gone into effect until July 8th, which kind of defeats the point for fireworks penalties. So we have it, exact same language, identical on an urgency, which if the council approves by a 4/5 vote, would ensure that those fines go into effect immediately. So we're already advertising the fines, we're getting the word out. You know, it's not just the city, it's regionally. A lot of cities are looking at what Yucaipa is doing here. They understand the situation that this community is in with its history with fireworks-related incidents. But we want to make sure that we have a valid ordinance on the books that will back up those enhanced fines.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I noticed when I'm driving around some of our sister cities that I'm starting to see light board signs advertising saying that fireworks are banned in their area. So not to put the cart before the horse here, but there had been some talk at one point in time that maybe I was going to put together a quick little 15, 20-second video on just an educational thing. Is that still in the works? Okay. And yeah, I want to make sure we get that. I'm still hearing them on my side of town. I don't know if they're lighting them in Calamasa. They're going over there to light them because they know what we're doing. But I'm not sure where they're coming from, but they're pretty doggone close to my house. I'm trying to figure out which house it is.
So I think this year we're trying for the enhanced fine structure as well as the enhanced enforcement structure, which allows the city to enforce against the property owner, even if the property owner did not set them off themselves. If their kids did, if they allowed their property to be used in that way, or if they did it in the public right-of-way in front of their property, it allows that enhanced enforcement. The next step that I've seen some communities going with, I don't know if we're quite in a position to implement that this year, but I have seen some cities moving to a reward program / bounty program. Frankly, you know which of your neighbors are setting off fireworks all day. And you know, there's only so many of us. So that is one step that I've seen some communities moving into. I think my recommendation as your legal counsel would be to let's see how the enhanced penalties go this year. And then we can see if it makes a measurable dent in the illegal use of the fireworks. And then going, starting as we look towards next year, we can look at, other enhanced enforcement tools available to us, including potentially the bounty program, but maybe others as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Any comments from my colleagues?
Yes, I would like to see very extensive publication and anything we can do to get this word out there, because yes, they are going off in our area also. And having said that, I would like to move the approval of the ordinance.
So we got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem, and roll call.
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried to approve the second reading of ordinance number 457 and adoption of urgency ordinance number 457U, an urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Yucaipa, California, adding Chapter 8.40 to Title 8 of the Yucaipa Municipal Code regarding fireworks and declaring the urgency thereof.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, moving on to item number 25. It's you and Mr. Trevor Benson. Can't speak. It's getting too long in the
Mr.
night.
Mayor, Council, I'm going to be talking about ordinance number 454. This is the second reading of ordinance number 454 regarding firearm storage fees.
Hold on a second. I got to open the public hearing.
Okay.
We're getting into areas I haven't done much of here. So we're going to open the public hearing, and the current time is 8:49. Now you're on.
Okay. So this is the second reading of ordinance number 454 regarding firearm storage fees for the city of Yucaipa and our police department. To be honest with you, I've never done a second reading before, so I don't really know exactly how this goes. But from what I'm told, I have to open it up in case you guys have any other questions.
This is a unique circumstance. When we are adopting an ordinance by reference, the second reading has the public hearing. I don't know why that is. That's how the legislature wrote the law. So yes, it's a little bit unusual. You've already approved this at first reading. So usually these second readings at public hearing are usually pretty quick affairs.
So I can make a motion now?
We don't have an applicant, right?
You can open the public hearing, make the motion, and get this over with really quick if you'd like.
And for the record, we have no public comments. Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor.
Well, then I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Mayor, can we
So
close?
we have to close the public hearing
Thank you.
first. So
Oh,
close
sorry.
the public hearing is 8:50. Now we'll take the motion. Or if there's discussion, then the motion.
Discussion?
Do we have any discussion?
No.
Perfect.
I'll make a motion.
All right. I got a first.
I'll still second.
First and a second, roll call vote.
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Item number 26. Madam Clerk, I think it's you, isn't it?
Thank you, sir.
Open the public hearing, and it is 8:51.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This public hearing is for the adoption of Resolution Number 2025-16, forwarding amounts remaining unpaid on the Certified Solid Waste Lien List to the County of San Bernardino for addition to the 2025-2026 property tax rolls as a special assessment. The solid waste delinquent lien list attached to your staff report contains a total of 34 accounts. Public notices were published in the Yucaipa News Mirror on Friday, May 23rd and May 30th, and individual notices were mailed to each delinquent account property owner on May 27th. Property owners appearing on the list who make appropriate payments to Yucaipa Disposal prior to July 11th will have their accounts removed from the county 25-26 tax roll. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff? Nope. No applicant, no comments, no rebuttals?
No comments.
Closing the public hearing, it's 8:52. Do we have discussion? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Got a first from Councilman Beaver, I'll second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Beaver,
Aye.
Councilmember Miller,
Aye.
Councilmember Woolsey,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 27.
That is also me.
Opening the public hearing, 8:52.
Thank you, Mayor. Every year, the City Council conducts a public hearing to set the solid waste rates for the upcoming fiscal year. Pursuant to the current franchise agreement, the annual rate adjustment is based on three things. One, the increase/decrease in the landfill fee charged by the County of San Bernardino. Number two, an adjustment to the operator fee of 90% of the annual change in the consumer price index for the prior calendar year. And number three, recycling rate adjustments based on collection, transportation, processing, non-recyclable disposal, community education, state, county, city reporting, and recyclable revenue credits. On April 7th, the Solid Waste Committee, along with city staff, met with representatives from our solid waste hauler, Burtech Waste Industries, to discuss the increases to the various rates charged for their services. The proposed residential rate recommended by the committee would implement an increase of 1.9%, which would result in a 15-gallon rate increase of 48 cents, a 30-gallon rate increase of 60 cents, and a 60-gallon rate increase of 80 cents. The committee is also recommending the various commercial rates outlined in Exhibit A. It's important to note that the city followed the Prop 218 process for the public hearing. Notices were mailed to the residents 45 days prior to this hearing, and as of the start of this public hearing, the city clerk's office has received 14 protests. With us tonight to present the annual report for 2024 is Burtech Vice President of Municipal Services, Michael Heffman. Michael is also available to answer any questions regarding the proposed increases. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, and good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council, city staff, and residents here this evening. Michael Heffman with Yucaipa Disposal, Burtech Company. And as mentioned, we're going to review the annual report and rate review for 2025. So the comprehensive annual report for the services provided are in your staff packet and is a lengthy and comprehensive review of the activities that took place last year. I've gleaned some of the information from the report to highlight some of the 2024 annual activities, the first being 211 more residential service accounts, which is significant. Most of those were 60-gallon service accounts. In addition to residential services, 99% of commercial and multifamily customers were compliant with Senate Bill 1383. There's always 1%. There's always a few that we're working with. Might be a new start, might be some changes to their waste streams that we'll be out working with, but 99% is excellent. For bulky item collection, there were over 156 tons collected this year with 3,000 requests. That's more than double the tonnage from last year. The Sharps and Lancet program collected over 1,000 pounds. One interesting thing to point out of note is the mixed construction and demolition material and the inert materials. For construction, over the last 3 years, we've seen the rise in tonnage being collected under the mixed C&D programs every year. Back in 2022, there was 800 tons collected. In 2024, during the current report, there was 1,876. So a significant amount of tons in construction and demolition, inert, and metals being collected in the city here. Last year under 1383, the 65% procurement goal, that is the amount of recovered organic waste product or compost was procured, was met successfully under 1383 here in the city. There are also some residential blue container contamination increases. It is notable. It's maybe not a highlight, but it's something we're working on through extensive public outreach. Some Recycle Right award winners, where if we check your barrel and you sign up for the program, you could be awarded $100 if you're selected and have no contamination found in your container. Plus, as part of 1383, again this year we'll be doing the lid flips, where we'll go through and actually open up the lids and take a look and provide positive feedback to all the residents that have that lid flip undergone. And we'll check the box on their tag and let them know if they have received no contamination, they had a good barrel. They'll be entered into a drawing as well. And then we'll provide feedback if we do find contamination on any of the containers that we look at. Also last year in August, Cal Recycle does what's called a compliance evaluation, where once every 4 years, they are going to review the 1383 programs with every jurisdiction throughout the state. The city of Yucaipa was selected in August of last year. In fact, it was August 15th. I remembered that day vividly to submit the copious amounts of documents and data that was required for the Cal Recycle audit, along with the city clerk. And we're still in that process. It's just recent that a field audit was conducted here in site. The field audit, from all intense conversations and representations, seemed to go very well, and we're just waiting for a final draft report on how the city is doing with their programs from Cal Recycle's point of view. Education and outreach is a big portion. Part of the 65% procurement goal last year, I mentioned earlier, is one of the highlights. This year under 1383, it actually increases to 100%. And what that means is the city of Yucaipa is responsible to procure or cause to be procured 2,581 tons of compost. That's one of the recovered organic waste products that are to be procured. There is a postcard, which residents will see shortly, coming to them, which explains the benefits of compost. We plan to have the compost giveaways free to the public at no additional charge at the Equestrian Center, actually the vacant lot across the street from the Equestrian Center, where we will continue to put those piles of compost out there as long as the residents will take them. So we encourage residents to come take that material as frequently and as often as they like. And again, the postcards will be arriving soon. Another piece of education and outreach really begins with the children. In the schools. Burtech has put together a school activity packet, which you should all have a copy of. With this packet is really a lesson plan and a guide for teachers that they can go through. It includes not only a storybook about recycling, organics, black, blue, and green barrels, but also activity posters that could be hung up throughout the classrooms and activity sheets they could use in the classrooms. Plus, we have a kids corner to where teachers are able to just use their phone and the QR code and log on to our website and look for updates, look for new posters, new activity sheets. So we can start the next generation of recyclers to begin early on in the classroom and at home. The next slide is going to review the annual rate review. As mentioned, the Solid Waste Committee recommended the same percentage increase in the subcommittee review meeting. July 1st is the anticipated implementation of the proposed rates. One thing to point out, last year there was a significant increase in the franchise fees. During that time, Burtec forewent, I'm not sure which, but we did not take our operator fee last year and waive that due to the increases that were happening with the franchise fees. This year, however, the operator fee increase is part of the rate adjustment. The annual CPI, which is 2.61% under the Riverside San Bernardino, Ontario index. The contract only allows for 90% of that operator fee to be taken, which is 2.35%, and you'll see that in the paperwork. There are also disposal and processing components. Both your trash, your recycle, and your green waste are adjusted annually. And then program fees. As I mentioned, this year it goes from 65% procurement to the 100% requirement. That fee is adjusted in what we call the SB 1383 admin fee that you'll see in your packet, and that will increase from 75 cents to 90 cents. Now, I mentioned disposal and processing. Trash, as you see there, from 2024 to 2025, there's no change. The city is under what's called a waste disposal agreement with the county. So we're required to take material to the San Bernardino County landfill system. And this year, that amount of tip fee or tonnage, price per ton, did not change. That WDA agreement does expire, though, June of next year. So there will be upcoming meetings to take a look at that and possibly renew it. There are also organics fee increases for this year, which is amount from $89.57 to $93.15, or about 4%. And there's also residential recycling and processing fees, which are increased from $73.51 to $74.28, or 77 cents per ton. Now, in this next slide, there's a lot of detail, but I've highlighted some of the areas that are specific to this year's rate adjustment. The first of that being that operator fee. This year, based on the 90% of the CPI, it's 50 cents. So it goes from $21.11 to $21.61. And again, looking at that over last year and this year, that would be a quarter each year. The SB 1383 fee is 15 cents on the increase. That goes from 75 cents to 90 cents. A disposal, even though costs per ton are increasing in recycle processing and organics and have remained the same for trash. We also look at the tonnage and how many tons were collected. That is actually a decrease of 2 cents in the disposal fee. And then there are those changes equate to the new rate or proposed rate for the 60-gallon service of $43.03, which is 80 cents on that increase. The next slide shows the overview of those rates. So again, the 60-gallon residential barrel, of which there's about 75% of the residents in the city of Yucaipa, are going to go from $42.23 to $43.03, which is 80 cents or 1.9%. And as you can see, each of the percents are the same. Per the option in the solid waste subcommittee, it's 1.9%. The 30-gallon residential barrel service is 60 cents or 1.9%. And then, as mentioned in the openings remarks, the 15-gallon residential service from $25.26 to $25.74 or 48 cents, which is still that 1.9%. Now, commercial rates will be adjusted as well. And there are a number of services based on frequencies and container size. What we've listed here are the most common sizes for commercial and multifamily customers. The first being the 3-yard bin 1 time a week, which will increase $10.96 or 3.69%. The 60-gallon food waste barrel, which is required for our restaurants here and the food generators per 1383 and Assembly Bill 1826. That's a 3.21% increase, or $2.68. Multifamily customers, which is a 5 units or more, is considered multifamily, would be a 3-yard bin 1 time a week. The increase is $15.23, or 5.31%. And then finally, the 60-gallon barrel for organics, because under Senate Bill 1383, multifamilies have to comply with the organics requirements, so the multifamily customers also get a green barrel for their food waste, and if there is any green waste, as required by the state law. That increase is $1.25 or 2.68%. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
My colleagues have any questions for staff or for Burtek?
And Mike, I just had one question. For our audience that may not know what Senate Bill 1383 is, can you just brief summary?
Yes, sir. Senate Bill 1383 is been described as one of the largest pieces of legislation in probably the last 30 years to hit the solid waste industry. So back in 2016, Senate Bill 1383 was actually adopted by the state legislature. The bill was so comprehensive and complex, it took 5 years to finally implement in 2022. So that's why there was a delay, even to get started. COVID caused some of those COVID caused some of those delays as well. But 1383 eventually was implemented, and the whole focus of that is short-lived climate pollutants or methane reduction in the atmosphere. So the state found that methane is escaping into the atmosphere, and that is causing climate change or global warming, depending on which article you read, but definitely climate change. So with that, they looked at it and said, where is this methane coming from? And they found that a majority, it was about 30% of it, was coming from landfills. And it was that organic waste that was decaying and decomposing inside the landfill that when that happened, it was releasing methane gas. So now 1383 requires not only commercial businesses and multifamily, but also residents to recycle not only our green waste, but our food waste. And that's why we have now the bagged food waste programs. But the state, in their development of this regulation, so well, now that we're recycling all this material and we're moving it away from the landfill, what are we going to do with it? And so they've required companies like Burtek to process it in certain ways and to make what are called recovered organic waste products. Those products could be in the form of compost and mulch. They could be in natural gas for electricity or for vehicle fuel. And so they said, now that we're making these new products to reuse and recover this organic waste that we're diverting, where does it have to go and who should buy it? And so 1383 requires now the city to procure or cause to be procured that material back. So in order to defeat the methane and the climate, we now recycle our food waste, turn it into new products, and make sure it's procured by the end of the year. So,
thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
We have no public comments on this item.
Awesome. All right. So we'll close the public hearing at 9:08. Do we have any discussion amongst ourselves concerning it? Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please tabulate the protests received for the solid waste collection rates and inform us if there's a majority protest, please?
I received all protests. We've deemed them valid. However, a majority does not exist, so the council may proceed with the motion.
All right. Do I have a motion?
Do we have public comment?
We have no public comment.
I didn't hear that.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
I got a first and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Beaver?
Yes.
Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Woolsey?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Yes.
Mayor Thornton?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, moving to item number 28. This public hearing was carried over from our May 12th meeting. So we don't have to open it, we're just continuing it. The current time is 9:09.
All right, thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. I will try to be brief just because I know you guys have had a kind of marathon meeting so far, been over 6 hours, so I'll be mindful of that. This is part of the annual kind of update that we do for the Development Impact Fee Program. For members of the public and council, the DIF program really kind of works in the sense of we need infrastructure to reach our build-out potential. So as the city reaches its ultimate condition with the future development, we have pieces of infrastructure that needs to get built. And so as that total cost to build that infrastructure is developed. New development pays for their fair share of costs. So each new unit that gets built of residential housing or new commercial development pays their portion of that infrastructure that needs to be built for the city to come to fruition. And so the city fees cover 5 different topics: traffic, drainage, park, public facilities, and fire. And this does not include other agencies, so the water district and the school district also have their own separate fees that pertain to their infrastructure demands as well. And so as part of our annual adjustments, we really focus on a few different key components. One is the construction cost index and how that impacted just the general assumptions of infrastructure costs in the future. What diffs have been collected in prior years, or any grants that we have assumed to receive that may adjust our project cost estimates. Any updates on project costs that we know of. So the construction cost index was 2.3% for this kind of update. However, a number of different projects, while the overall CCI was at a certain rate, we do know certain materials have also gone up. And so as we've had updated project estimates for certain projects, we've plugged those back in. And then the last one, if there's been any amendments to the general plan that may impact the build-out condition, we also incorporate those. And then with this update, we are also including a reduction of the interfund receivable balance. As part of the Yucaipa Performing Arts Center, the way that the YPAC was built out was assumed part of it was to be funded by new development. Some of it was to be funded by existing development. However, the interfund loan balance does not reflect that general fund contribution for the existing development, only shows everything as being new development. And so this is to correct that interfund balance and make sure that the categories are appropriate within the DIF program outcome. And then so this right here with all those inputs plugged into our database or Excel table that has all the different metrics that go with it. These are the proposed revision to the rates. And so if we take a look at these kind of raw numbers based on either per square foot or per 1,000 square feet, we kind of start to see what the increase is from the prior year. So if we take a 2252 square foot single family house, essentially it goes from a development impact fee total of $20,000 to about $23,000. And then if we apply the same principle to commercial and industrial, we see similar kind of components. So 16,504 square foot building goes from 97,000 to 111,000 for the city fees. Parts are not included in commercial or industrial because they don't serve a need where parts are provided for. And then for industrial, it goes from 101 with the same size building to $114,000. And so certainly some increase, especially with those known project cost increases that we have seen, certainly do impact the DIF program quite a bit. And so we definitely want to make sure that we value engineer in different projects so that we can make sure that we're not having a heavy burden into the future, but they do need to make sure that we accommodate what the future demand is and make sure we're adequately funding the program. Now, we do also try to compare our fees to surrounding cities. Our fees are based on what our demands are and what our build-out projections are. Other cities, it's based on their stuff, so it isn't necessarily an apples and apples comparison, but it is helpful to know if we're way above everyone else or if we're way below. It can usually be a good metric to know what's going on. And so we at least try to make sure we know how competitive we are. Overall, the city itself, in terms of our DIF program, even with these changes, still ranks as one of the more affordable assessments. However, as council is aware, when you combine the school district and the water fees, it does add up. Certainly they do have their own respective needs as well as unique infrastructure. So as an example, Yucaipa Valley Water District has their advanced kind of recycling water program. Other water districts and other agencies do not have this program. And so there's separate fees that get added on that reflect, the more sustainable efforts to provide water for their residents into the community. The other jurisdictions may not have. And so there is that balance of being affordable, but also being able to provide the infrastructure that's needed as the city grows into the future. And so it is a balancing act between the two, but we do try to make sure we're fair in our fees. And so if we do compare this, so these are city-based fees, You can see in the residential side, we are still kind of lower in the pack. There are two that are less, but the rest are more. And I also do want to note, in reviewing some of these development impact fees, those that are in Riverside counties are subject to the TUMP fees or Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee, as well as their multiple species habitat conservation plan fees. So those do add some additional costs. The TUMP fees do also provide some additional funding for regional infrastructure, so for freeway interchanges that do help in the long term, but certainly do have a greater upfront cost. And then in our review, we did notice that there were a few cities that were out of compliance with AB 602, which is an updated fee structure required pursuant to state law. And so these with the footnote number 2, because of how outdated they are, we'll probably likely see increases because some of them were dating back to about 2017. And so as we have all seen, construction costs and inflation from 2017 to today have been pretty substantial. Some of them were a little bit more recent, but one of them was certainly, almost a decade old, and so those fees are certainly way out of date. We apply the same thing for commercial fees. You see the same kind of trend. We tend to rank at the bottom. Only one city was lower. Again, this one was an outdated fee structure. And then the last one for industrial, kind of similar stats there. Some of them are a little bit less depending on the categorization. So some cities have very elaborate details with a lot of different classifications. We do not. We have a very simplistic. It's either commercial or industrial. And so some go very into minutia detail of what types of uses they have. But even despite that, we still remain competitive. And so with that, staff does recommend adoption of the updated fees for the cycle. And then the DIF program was presented at the Finance Committee meeting recently in, I think, was May. So that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, sir. Any comments for staff? No?
I move approval.
Do we have any, hold on, do we have any public comment?
No public comments.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I don't have a slip. Thank you.
There you go. Dennis Miller, resident of Yucaipa since 1962. Back in 1962, we didn't have any development impact fees. And we weren't talking about affordable housing either, because it was very affordable when you could buy a home for $20,000. As times have changed, we have, as our communities have grown and government has grown and all that, we've learned ways to divert fees and that and cost to other people. And that's what's happened with development impact fees. Just not here with the city, but it's with the school district, it's the water district, and other entities out there have added cost. Like I said, 30 years ago, 35 years ago, we didn't have development impact fees. We have made a transition to create development impact fees, to say, well, they're impacting, so they must pay for it. Prior to that, 200 years prior to that, it wasn't that way. All of a sudden, there was a change. Now we have our state and federal government coming down on us. We need more affordable housing. So here we are shoving fees on to add more cost to housing and then telling us how we need to create more affordable housing. I want to make this statement here because we got to think about what's going on in our society here. And I'm not saying we can make a change to it here tonight, but we got to start thinking this through. Because right now, with our development impact fees with the city, the school, and the water district in that, for a home that's approximately 2,500 square feet, you could be looking at $85,000. That's roughly 15% of what the actual cost of construction could be in there. So that's significant. So we need to get back and share, everybody needs to share the cost, just not necessarily the new person. I just want to make that statement that the people need to start thinking about this. Years ago, we didn't have this, and now today we do. And now today we're being, well, we got to charge fees because we need infrastructure, and then somehow we got to charge fees or so that we can build affordable housing. It doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No other comments?
No other comments.
All right, and no rebuttals? Okay, close the public hearing at 9:19. There was a motion earlier, I think it was Councilman Beaver, and a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you make the second?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready for roll call?
Councilmember Beaver,
Yes.
Councilmember Miller,
No.
Councilmember Woolsey,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable,
Yes.
Mayor Thorpe.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. That brings us to council member reports. Do any of my colleagues have anything to announce?
Yes, I do.
Councilman Woolsey.
May 16th, myself, along with some other city officials, attended the Yucaipa Valley Water District facility tour. It was an amazing tour, very impressive in how they're developing and planning for 20 and 30 years out. January 3rd, I attended the regular Water District Board meeting. That was June, not January, sorry. June 4th, I had the Omnitrans meeting and the Transit Authority meeting. June 5th, the Community Economic and Human Development Committee that is held with SCAG. And then today I received notice from the SBCTA that I have been confirmed on the One Water, One Watershed Steering Committee of the Santa Ana Watershed Project Authority for a 4-year term. I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be interesting.
Councilman Miller.
Congratulations, Councilmember Woosley. You are definitely busy. I know that. I've watched you operate, so good job. I just want to thank the Sheriff's Department. We had a homicide last week, and they had, I think within a day and a half, had 2 in custody. So great work. That was great work on that. We don't have too many homicides, but great work by you guys and then the homicide team that rolled out. So I really appreciate the good work. And staff, just thank you for all the hard work. You guys have been pushing, especially budget time. It's always a busy time. We have to get it done in June. There's a lot of other balls in the air right now, things we're doing. So we just appreciate you. I know how hard it is, the many things that come forward, and we've had a lot going on the last 6 months. But you're doing the job, and as a former staff member, I realize that, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Beaver.
Nothing to report. Apologies for my telecommuting today. My work sent me abroad, but thank you for everything.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
We still have the doctor's doing his I can't even remember now. My brain is. And it's his.
Here comes phone a friend.
Come on, yeah, help me out.
At the last Healthy Yucaipa meeting, they've actually transitioned, because not very many people are attending the Healthy Yucaipa free seminar series. And so they're actually going to do, with the help of Joe Perdetto and Corey, we're going to do a podcast where we talk about some healthy topics.
Oh, great.
And then we are going to do a cooking class for healthy eating, active living, as well as like a yoga demonstration. So we're going to, when there's a problem, we pivot. And the problem was not enough people were taking advantage of these really great people in our community willing to give their time to talk about these opportunities. So we'll have more information on our website, on social media, and at council meetings.
Perfect. That's all I have.
All right, and then June 14th, Chief Malinowski, is Flag Day. Flag Hill Park? 10 o'clock? 9, okay. I thought 9, but I thought I heard 10 earlier, so that's why I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, it'll be at 9 o'clock, Flag Hill Park. Very formal but short, so it'll be nice, and we will be burning flags, and we will take flags for burning, so we can retire them there, or people can always use the box out front.
Very good. Thank you. Interim City Manager, any announcements?
Nope, you just gave the one I was going to give, so we're good.
Okay. The next city council meeting is June 23rd. And I will adjourn this meeting. I would like to adjourn it in honor and memory of a distant family member that passed away this past week. Claudette, I've known her as Hazard, but her family grew up here. They've been a part of our community in Calamasa. Well, she's been here for over 50 years, but their family has been here for many, many decades. Very involved in our communities. And she went home to be with the Lord this past week. So, in honor of her and her family, it mourns her loss. So, with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. And
Sorry.
you had your opportunity.
I forgot all
we
about it.
we still have closed session to go to. You have 10
If
seconds.
anybody knows my cousin Cassie, she has Down syndrome. Today's her birthday, and I told her that I'd tell her happy birthday, Cassie. I hope that you're having a great time. So
Very good.
sorry.
No, you're good. All right, with that, we'll adjourn this meeting at 9:25, and we'll go into our
I thought we didn't have to.
closed session.
So I just wanted to make sure that we stated it clearly. We're going to be adjourning into closed session.
Right.
We are not planning on returning. Any announcement on closed session actions will be in the form of a memorandum that I'll include on the consent calendar for the next item, or for the next agenda.
Thank you, sir.